Excellent. And for anybody that didn't know, Tiberius's Black Air Forces are in his heart.
Oh, yeah?
And on to my man Vigilante.
Hi guys, I'm the Vigilante TV. You can find me at the Vigilante TV on Twitch, and then my link tree is in my bios. You can find everything else there. So,
and off the top rope, we have a Wild Admiral Gibbs, who will be showing his face any moment now.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
I've counted multiple seconds. I don't know what's going on here.
Hey, listen.
Technical difficulties.
Gibbs is miles away from us right now.
Yeah. It's so we had to take care of the cats. They were over here giving me sass.
Sounds like Texas problems.
Yeah, big Texas problems. They're the only problems that matter, actually.
I'm guessing you went with the Chinese solution?
No, he went with the final solution.
Talking about making Kung Pao chicken.
I didn't know you went to an American college, Tiberius.
I did?
Sure went to a social.
I don't understand the reference, but okay.
So with that, we're gonna go with the first topic being. Gibbs had to go full Hulkamania on us today. Okay.
Yeah. Looks more like Macho Man, but anyway.
That's what. Yeah, the cream always rises to the top. I had a bunch of peasants that thought they could hang with the Macho Man Papa Gibby, like this man over here, Tiberius, and this stuttering but jabroni down below Vigilante. So we had to bring the Macho Man to talk about the first topic and talk about American accents. Mm-hmm.
That's what we're gonna do. The first topic, the U.S. government has recently passed an aid package worth almost $100 billion to arm and support Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Is giving twice what we spend the United States Marine Corps in a year to our allies a good use of our tax dollars? Ad blocker. Pro stream remove. The House has approved $95 billion in U.S. foreign aid for Ukraine, Israel, and other U.S. allies in a rare weekend session as Democrats and Republicans banded together after months of hard right resistance over renewed American support repelling Russia's invasion. With an overwhelming vote Saturday, the $61 billion in aid for Ukraine passed in a matter of minutes, a strong showing as American lawmakers race to deliver a fresh round of U.S. support to the war-torn ally. Many Democrats cheered on the House floor and waved blue and yellow flags for Ukraine. Aid to Israel and other allies also won approval by healthy margins, as did a measure to clamp down on the popular platform TikTok, with unique coalitions forming to push the separate bills forward. The whole package will go to Senate, which could pass it as soon as Tuesday. President Joe Biden has promised to sign it immediately. How do we feel about this? Starting with Gibbs.
I actually am a pretty big fan of American interventionism. Whenever you're not intervening around the world, you're showing weakness, as we're seeing in Nigeria, where we're pulling out and Russia is moving in. And we're seeing this in places like Chad, all sorts of places where we used to have a lot of influence and we're pulling out. We have to spend money in order to keep our influence. I mean, there's a song by Moneybagg Yo, "Scared Money Don't Make No Money." And basically, it's a situation here. We have to go out there and we have to spend some money. We stop acting scared. We need to empower our allies to fight our enemies, which are adversarial powers like Iran, Russia, North Korea, Venezuela, and China. And we need to hand out the fucking whoopings. We need them to hand out the whoopings for us. And it's about time we spent some money on American imperialism, and we need to bring back that shit. In fact, I think we should just turn Russia into a colony of the United States, and maybe that would sit them on down for a little while.
All right. All hail the hegemony.
Yeah.
Duck, how do you feel about this? And you were muted.
Well, I'm not as extreme as my Macho Man compatriot here, but I do believe that an intervention in force is something that can work, and there may be a need for a world police, and who better fit the bill than America, one of the best countries in the world. I'm not going to pretend to know the nuance of like what a government needs to like maintain in order to like keep the country safe, because there may be things there that don't intuitively make sense to someone that like on our level. I don't know a whole lot on that, but I do trust the government to do what it needs to keep us and our allies safe.
Thank you for that, Doug. LetheWaterKai.
Yeah, so I would agree with some of the things that are being said in terms of America being awesome. I think America is the least bad country in the world. Nations generally are unjustified in of themselves. They're only justified insofar as they can govern effectively. I think the United States does a good job at governing effectively. However, I'm going to actually take the position here that the aid package, I think, is short-sighted for a couple reasons. The biggest win that I gave Donald Trump in foreign policy was when he talked shit to NATO, when he said, hey, why is it that we're spending all this money? You guys are just getting a free ride. Why don't you guys spend money? And there really wasn't a good response given. Just more, sarcasm. Oh, Trump's trying to break apart NATO. But there really wasn't a good argument. Taiwan spends like a considerably lower amount of money on their military as a percent of GDP. So they are spending like 2.2% or something. We're spending well over 3%. We're spending more than they are. Why should we give them military aid? They should be expected to pay at least our percentage or more if they want aid. It doesn't make any sense why. It's a developed country. It's got healthcare. It's got all sorts of good shit. Why can't they spend more of a percentage of their GDP on the military? Why are they expecting American taxpayers to do so? It doesn't make any sense. When it comes to Ukraine, I'm not. Ukraine is spending a shit ton of their percent of their GDP on the military. I'm not going to fault them there. But I think that there is a issue in Ukraine of unreasonable demands and a unwillingness to resolve the war without some kind of U.S. pressure. And I think that weapon shipments need to be contingent on Ukrainian acceptance of some base level requirements, such as giving up Crimea, giving up the Donbass, and coming up with some kind of arrangement with Russia so that slaughter can end. Same thing in Israel. I think that we continue to condemn them and say, don't go into Rafah, don't do this, don't do that. But then we just give them a bunch of free guns to do it anyway. That should be contingent, right? If you want U.S. hardware, you do what we say. And what we say is obviously don't do this, and they're doing it anyway. So I feel like we're being pushovers, and in terms of giving money to people who really don't deserve it, are unwilling to work with us, unwilling to do what we say. And that's not really control. We're just kind of the world's bitch at this point.
All right. Thank you for that. Osiris.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with LetheWaterKai. I don't mind giving up the money, but the money comes with strings attached. If we're going to be the world's most biggest superpower, the most powerful nation in the world, and tell people what they can and can't do, send money wherever the fuck we want to, billions of dollars, then you have to do what the fuck we say. And I think LetheWaterKai's made a good layout of what some of the criteria could be as a diplomatic factor. Makes sense to me. You're not getting all your shit back. Cry more, and then so the shit can be over. Then we can stop sending money over there and send it somewhere else, and people can go die.
Ooh, strong resistance to the hegemony. Okay. Tiberius.
I'm just taken aback, particularly from Osiris on this one. Like, number one, that we're disagreeing, but two, actually condemning the hegemony. Like, what the hell? Number one, this is based as fuck. The problem is it's not enough. Remind you that the Anglos, the way that we like to fight wars is we like to fund everybody else to fight our wars for us. And then if we absolutely have to come in, then we do so, but we usually are the last ones to the party. Whether it be World War II or World War I, you can see this over and over and over again. We fund the fuck out of somebody, and when it's clear that isn't enough, we show up. Right now, we're definitely in that phase. We don't like the Russians. We're definitely trying to get our money's worth and just funding the crap out of, Ukrainian weapons so that we can produce piles of dead Russian bodies. And as base as that is, the problem is it's not enough. We've been consistently behind the curve every step of the way when it comes to giving them the proper arms to defeat the Russian army in the field. They don't have enough tanks. They don't have enough APCs. They don't have enough of the modern instruments of war to actively take the fight to the field. And that's costing them. And it's costing us, because if we actually had been more aggressive in this war actually might be over by now. But they didn't get the mine clearing equipment. They didn't get all those extra things. And I'll leave the nuance for the open, but I'll put it this way. Number one, most of this is tax dollars that will be served to use American interests. Most of these are American-built weapons and ammo that we are shipping over there. Either we're paying for it directly and just being like, hey, here's the shit, have fun, or it's stuff that they will use to buy American weapons. So most of this is not money wasted. It actually will go into the majority of our own economy. The other side of this, though, is that for the isolationists, that is a relevant conversation. Can we get back to this in the open? Is are we doing this effectively when we do have allies who are not pulling their fucking weight? I will totally have that conversation, but I do believe that is a side tangent. Vigilante.
Yeah, so I don't really support most of this package. I support giving Ukraine money to weapons and stuff to defend themselves. For the rest of it, like giving shit to Taiwan, giving shit to Israel, that's not contingent. I don't support it. At this point, Taiwan is like, they're under threat, but they haven't been attacked yet. There's no actual reason for them to be getting anything yet. And then I don't like the fact that we just hand stuff out for free to Israel or really anybody in general. I think World War II is a great example, Ty, actually, because like what we did in World War II wasn't just hand shit out for free. It was actually selling it to. Initially, we actually sold shit to both sides, not just one side or the other. Initially, we sold to both sides, and then we're towards the end, towards like the middle or end, we shift to just selling to the allies. But that's one of the things that we need to start doing again, is actually selling our equipment and making money off of selling our equipment to said allies versus just handing it out for free.
All right, go ahead and open up the conversation and keep your hands off of American boats. It's a warning.
Yeah, I want to separate between Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan real quick. First, I want to say Israel and Taiwan produce microchips, right? That's the big one, right? They're the two biggest producers, and deterrence in Taiwan is a big factor. Sure, Taiwan may not be spending enough, or well, not letting China invade and take out the microchips. That's a big one. Israel can handle all the people in the region. If they want to go give Iran the hands, we give them the money, and they actually can be the big bad final boss in the region and never have to deal with us. If Rafah and the Palestinian terrorist organization Hamas want to sit there and they want to do bad things, Israel can give them the hands too. You know who can't give them the hands? Ukraine. Now, here's the difference between the rest of y'all. Y'all all said y'all want this war to end. This is the radical take. The longer this war goes on, the better it is for the United States. In fact, I hope that we never give them enough to win, and we never give them enough to lose, and it's perpetual endless war, and it's stacks and stacks and piles of bodies in Russia, and they don't have manpower anymore, and they lose equipment, and it's a never-ending war, and we are selling stuff to Ukraine. They have to pay us back on all this shit, so as long as they exist as an entity, and Russia's never strong enough to overtake them, the more dead bodies, and this is going to sound callous, the better it is for America, because America has a duty to its people first, and Russia is an adversarial power, so fuck every single Russian that goes and works and fights for them. Fuck every civilian in Russia that sits there and allows Putin to be in power and gets bombed by Ukrainian drones. And, well, I feel bad for the Ukrainians, but tough tits, time to continue the endless war.
Lactoid.
All right, I got a couple of responses. I'm going to respond first to Tiberius and then to Gibbs. Firstly, we can point to World War I. I think we were probably the most isolationist, and then World War II, kind of.
Tiberius.
Even worse.
We were the kind of. We were the primary belligerent in the Pacific.
We were the arms dealers.
Yeah, well, not only were we the arms dealers, but in the Pacific, we were like the primary belligerent against Japan. But then since then, I mean, let's look at it, right? Korea, it was us. We were the primary foreign force there. Vietnam, us. Afghanistan, it was primarily us. Iraq, primarily us. Consistently, we are the ones that are sending our troops in to resolve these conflicts. We are the ones going in. Now, with Israel... What was that?
I said you just named a bunch of L's, though.
Well, besides Korea, I think Korea was successful. The rest of them were definitely
and
L's.
Iraq.
Iraq was an L. Iraq was an L.
What was the KD ratio?
It doesn't matter what the KD ratio is. That was a strategic defeat. Regardless,
it was a strategic win.
I think America has. That's a win. I think America has absolutely put forward the primary foot forward in a lot of world conflicts. I don't think it's true that we're just in the background throwing money. We do that too, but then we also send American lives out to get blown up as well. Gibbs, to your point, keep Russia bogged down in an endless war. Yeah, civilians are going to die. Yeah, people are going to die, but it's good for us geopolitically. I'm not so sure about that, right? We're already seeing reports of Ukraine having issues with manpower. They're not properly cycling because they don't have enough manpower to basically beef up the front. So the soldiers there that are at the front lines have been there sometimes since the invasion began, right? So for the last 2 years, they've been in nonstop combat. Now, if Ukraine runs out of manpower and loses the initiative, we have a very real possibility of exactly what happened in Vietnam and exactly what happened in Afghanistan, which is that the front collapses and we lose the entire country. And I mean by we, Western hegemony, the entire country falls. If the longer Russia is kept in this, the less likely they are to accept a reasonable demand because they're more invested in, right? They are more likely to just keep at it. And Russia is no stranger to frozen conflicts, right? They will get into a frozen conflict and stay there for 20 years, for 30 years. And we can keep up the fighting, but if we're already having Ukraine having manpower issues, I think that maybe now could be a great opportunity to see if we can resolve this, save lives, and potentially avoid a catastrophic scenario.
I have one quick response to that. The answer is we let Blackwater loose, and then they just hide all the Blackwater, take all the restrictions off, and we did. Guess what? As the American superpower, we just let them start using all our private citizens. I know plenty of rednecks that would love to get paid to go kill some Russians, and let's just let them go.
Now we're sending American lives into combat. It's not happening.
No, a whole other volunteers that are being paid private.
Well, hold on. U.S. PMCs are already there. We know this.
Oh wait, right? Yeah. So send more of them. What, you don't like private military?
It's amazing when you're watching the movie 1984 and you're like, there had to be people originally that advocated for that government. You're like, who is that? We found it. It's Macho Man, Randy Savage over here. He wants 1984 to happen.
Endless War is good.
All right.
He saw that movie and he's like, you know what? Based.
I want to take that a little bit on this. The United States has definitely taken the lead since World War II, and there's two sides of that. Number one is that our general foreign policy, particularly during the Cold War, was that we had to bribe up an alliance, right? We had to let everybody in on our side because we weren't the first target. West Germany was. Paris was. Like, we were not the people who were under the threat of invasion. So the whole deal, at least for us, and I do question this highly, is that everyone had to be lightly armed, but not armed enough to be a problem. And our sign of commitment was, as we are the superpower, we would come up to back anyone and everyone whenever the fighting started. So yeah, Germany, West Germany, a country of 60 million people, and that was the front line for the Cold War, never got above 550,000 people in uniform, when it could have had 2 million men in uniform.
But the threat was always there, right? America
the threat was always there. But here's the thing. I'm not saying I believe in this. I think that Trump was right. It was the biggest foreign policy shift that the United States has actually put forward, and I want to see it continue. Biden's been really wishy-washy on it, is that if you're going to be an ally, pull your fucking weight. Because the difference between now and then is that you guys, aka the allies, really got a better deal out of this. Because as long as the war didn't happen, like, their economies were basically subsidized. Their defense was on board with all of ours, but more particularly is that they get free trade protected by the U.S. Navy. They don't even have to pay for their own trade.
Yeah.
So level where I get that argument.
And now they're first world economies as opposed to before. Sure, you can make an argument when they're rebuilding, but now, I mean, they're fine. Like, they should be able to pay for their own shit.
Look at where Poland is now.
Little Texas.
So look where Poland is now. As a great example of this. Praise be, they're putting their weight in because they've joined the capitalist system. They have a liberal democracy, although it's been put under strain, and they're actually arming up to the teeth because they're like, hey, we have money now. We have a standard of living. We're going to fight for it. We're going to defend it. I love the Poles. I love the Baltics. The problem is that the Germans, the people who literally took on the British, the French, and the Russians all at the same time in World War I, and to some degree in II, is now literally the most pacifistic nation that is within Europe. That has to change. Like, they need to be our attack dogs. We need to have them on the leash. So, like, I get that argument, and I'm not going to act like that we shouldn't placate to that. But there's also levels to where it is a good thing that we don't have the Germans and the French and the British and the Italians, the Spanish and the Poles all getting into a corner to fight each other out again. They're all on the same side.
Oh, they're not going to do it because there's always, again, the threat of American intervention. But, like, Taiwan was one of the countries listed. Mm-hmm. Why isn't Taiwan spending more? Why can't we make our aid contingent on them raising their percentage?
I can't defend that. Like, there's a number of nations that I'm very upset with. Japan to some degree, although we told them not to, right? There's some of this where it's just like literally we told everybody not to have a huge army because
Japan, yes,
we
but not
didn't.
Taiwan though.
Well, Taiwan, here's the thing with
Taiwan is weird.
We don't even recognize them as a country officially. Like, we can't expect them to pull their weight and say, hey, you need your GDP as a country, when we won't sit there and tell China to go fuck themselves. This is a country. Like, that's not fair.
Of course we can expect them.
That's also true.
It's their island, right? So you're telling me...
I mean, they already did that. That's why they got the island in the first place.
Yeah, if they look, if they don't want to live under communism, which I agree with, like, they should have to pull their weight. They should, like, why are we spending more as a percentage of our GDP? As opposed to them they spend less than we do. Why can't they spend more? But
they're not even recognized as a country is the issue, right?
It doesn't mean they don't have money.
Hold on, let me give you an example, right? And we can use this from real world history of the United States history. This is the example, right? Taiwan is basically Texas. Texas beat Mexico, became its own country, fought a second war with Mexico, expanded its borders, and then we became United States state, and that's why our flag flies equal to the U.S. You know, if you were to go, hey, another country that's fully independent, recognized worldwide by other governmental powers, like the UK recognized Texas as a country, then yeah, sure. But we don't recognize Taiwan as a real power, as a real country. So for us to go in there and, hey, it's nut cutting time, boys, time for you to put up the same amount of money, and then they're over here like, okay, well, we'll do that, just recognize as a country, and we're like, my name's Biden and I got a limp dick. We're not doing that. We're not going to do it. Then why would they want to do that shit?
We don't owe them. Yeah, we don't owe them anything.
Yeah, we do owe them. Yeah, it's called the microchips. We owe them for that.
Well, we need them. We pay for those microchips, firstly, and secondly,
we're tied to them. Even if we pay them, if they're gone, where are you going to buy them from?
Well, thank God, Israel, and also I'm developing this in the U.S. But also, I agree. I don't want to lose chip manufacturing in Taiwan, so we go to Taiwan and say, hey, we like our chips. You like not living under an authoritarian hellhole. How about, maybe we'll throw you a bone, but you got to spend more money because you ain't spending shit, right? You're taking advantage of us. Like, they're riding us. They're using us. We're not equal partners.
I mean, sure, I agree. I agree that we should go in there and say, we'll recognize you as a country, and we never pay for your chips again.
I'll take you one better. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We need to recognize the Republic of China, a.k.a. Taiwan, as the legitimate government of the Han Chinese people.
Okay, so realistic proposals here. We should just ask
Taiwan
to pay more money.
Do it. We can literally declare that. Yeah, we can. We can literally declare that the People's Republic of China is not the legitimate government of China.
That would
what do you think would happen if that happened?
That would crash the world economy.
We would sever diplomatic relations, but are they going to fight a war over that? I don't think they are.
No, they're going to cash in. They're going to cash in all the American debt.
And at that point, okay, cool, great. You made our credit rating.
Cool.
Yeah, you made our credit rating go down while you sent them into a catastrophic depression.
The average debt the average American would be expected to pay on that is like $44,000 per person. Do you have $44K to pay tomorrow to China?
Your math is terrible. It's $1 trillion.
We could just cancel the debt like it's student loans.
That was the last time I looked. Because that's gonna work.
Just don't pay it. What are they going to do?
You're right. Let's talk about realistic proposals.
If you saw both an economic and a political severing of the American-Chinese relationship, we go into recession, they go into depression, and they don't come out of it. Because this relationship really is us giving them all the keys to the kingdom. Like, free trade is bullshit. They are getting so many outsized advantages in this to where they literally make all of our shit, or at least a significant part of it, to where, it will hurt not having those things. But if they have no money inflow into that system, their credit system completely collapses because it's all that whole system.
American manufacturing actually come back to America on top of that.
I think my Discord crashed. Son of a bitch.
The world economic system would crash. The world
everything froze up on my end.
It wouldn't crash though.
People don't realize how one-sided a lot of these geopolitical agreements are. And we did it for a reason. We wanted to see, the old idea was that if China industrialized and actually brought up their standard of living, they would embrace liberal democracy because we have seen it so many times in other countries. And if it wasn't for a major change in how we operate, that probably would have happened. We saw major democratic movements within China. The issue is that, one, they had leaders, particularly Xi, that decided that he wanted to go down the authoritarian bend, but also we had big data. China has become an authoritarian police state because they started hacking everybody's computers once they started getting cell phones. And so every time that you have a bunch of people get together and say, hey, our democracy meeting's on Thursday, you have Chinese agents waiting there to capture you. That's a huge difference compared to what we saw before, because the level to monitor people in this degree has not existed before. And we're seeing like a
Well,
revamping
on
of
top of that-
authoritarianism solely because of that.
It's also significantly easier in China because they run all of their internet servers as in the government runs them all. So it makes monitoring all that shit 10 times easier because it's all a centralized system.
So anyway, getting outside of China, right? Like, let me hit the list here. Ukraine. Ukraine's pulling its fucking weight. They're trying to be part of the crew. I think that funding them and helping them, supporting them to be part of basically the American empire, I fully support. In fact, I would like to give them enough aid to where if they can functionally beat the Russians in mobile warfare, by all means, we need to give them the shit to do it instead of letting them die horribly. Like, we've not done it.
I mean, like
Have you seen their
what you mentioned
counterattack?
earlier.
Yeah, I saw it last year. Like, there's levels where I was super disappointed because it was 10 mechanized brigades that they had mobilized up and trained up.
Hey,
However,
we got a Wick raid coming in. Thank you, Wick, for the raid. Appreciate it.
yeah,
Everybody support Wick. Shout out Wick.
Well, Shaw got another one for Wick here.
Yeah,
Anyway,
shout out another one for Wick.
to hit what I was saying here, the big issue, at least for me, when it comes to this, is that we keep giving them the shit that they need literally a day late and $1 short. We didn't give them the mine clearing stuff because we didn't want to write the bill for it. We don't want to give them like half of the really good shit like F-16s until literally the offensive had already started, right? Like, how are you supposed to conduct mobile combined arms warfare when you're still doing with old Soviet era tech? And remind you, most of what this counterattack was still with old Soviet weapons like T-80s.
I think the concern
hold
here.
on. We should sell them our older shit. I saw them talking about selling 1950s tanks that we still have in cold storage. We should sell them all that. We should give them all that shit before we give them any new stuff, and then we'll take the money back on that because it's pretty clear when Russia's calling up, they're like T-52s and like shit from like the 1945s. Like they're about to pull out tanks that they used in World War II. I'm just waiting for those bitches next. They're like, yeah, let's keep you. Our old tech is better than their best tech. They're using Patriot missile systems over there to like good degrees, and we're like,
So
those
the
are.
thing is, though, Gibbs, the problem with Russia is
50s.
literally proven throughout history that they don't give a shit how many lives they lose. They're willing to just continue to throw bodies at the problem.
Good. Let them do it.
The only way for Ukraine to even have a chance of winning this is we need to give them what they need, and then just let them run through all the way to fucking Moscow.
It's never going to happen. Wait. Hold on. It's never.
I think this is wild.
It's never going to happen. Okay. They're never even going to get back Crimea, and I'm doubtful that they're even going to get back Luhansk and Donetsk, right? So Moscow is completely off the fucking table. Second of all, I think the reason why there's probably a little bit of hesitancy on shipping a bunch of high-grade weapons to a country immediately under attack by a nuclear power is just recently we sent a bunch of shit over to Afghanistan and then promptly lost all that shit to the Taliban when the Taliban overran that country. Now, I think it's pretty reasonable to expect that when you have Russia launching a full-scale invasion, there's a little bit of hesitancy of, wow, is Ukraine going to fall, right? Now, yes, they did beat back certain elements of the assault, but right now they're not winning. They're losing ground. They're losing manpower. We can, sure, we get PMCs involved, but we can't just ship them manpower. We can ship them, we're shipping them rockets, we're shipping them different kind of weapons, but I don't believe they would have won the war already if just we had unloaded our entire arsenal into their hands at the beginning. First of all, we don't do that. We don't just give everything we have to a country just because they get attacked. And secondly, it has put them in this position where they are unwilling to negotiate. They have said they are unwilling to negotiate with Russia when it comes to Crimea. Good. That's ridiculous. They're unwilling to negotiate when it comes to the Donbass. Again,
why is that ridiculous?
Because they're never getting Crimea back. They're never.
It doesn't matter. Like this is literally.
Hopefully,
this is literally the equivalent.
Are you in favor of like War Forever, Tiberius 2? Are you
let Tiberius answer that.
Yeah. Like I mean, if as an American, if somebody invaded us and said, "Hey, I'm going to take a third of your fucking states," I think I would say yes, forever war. We will never give an inch of ground to these motherfuckers. Like I hope every damn decent American has that level.
Difference there.
No, it is. It's the same thing for them. I don't care how outsized the proportion is, right? If you have any pride in your nation and as your people to be a successful and viable state, you're not just going to let somebody come in and roll through shit and just say, "Well, we're going to give it up because we're the weaklings in this conversation."
So
right?
The unfortunate reality is what you just said. Actually, the war has been going on since 2014, not 2022. Ish. Well, 2014 is when Ukraine started attacking the Donbass area, when the rebels there unified, because of the unlawful, unconstitutional removal of Yanukovych and the replacement of Yanukovych with a unlawful president. I think that when you have a constitutional problem, when you violate the constitution of your country to replace the president, that the areas of the country that voted for that president have a right to secede. No taxation without representation. They have a right to secede, and that's what they tried to do. That's what Crimea did. That's what Donbass did. And for 8 years, Ukrainians were blowing up the civilians in Donetsk and Luhansk, and we weren't doing shit about it. And then the Russians get involved, and now we're just unloading our entire arsenal on them. It's expensive, and it's just like it's not when you look at the history, Ukrainians aren't as good as we think they are. It's not the same thing.
I'm a little lost here, so let me parse some of this out. Number one is that is there basically a full-blown domestic dispute that was going on after 2014?
Yes,
of course there was.
Euromaidan.
The issue is that there is a very strong pro-Western element within Ukraine and a very strong pro-Eastern element, and basically you had a color revolution. Number one, I'm going to totally accept the bias train on this one. I want those people in charge of Ukraine. If you're pro-American, that's a better government that we have, unless you're killing a bunch of people, which they weren't.
If you're pro-Biden, at least.
Oh my God. Anyway, number two, and this is the more relevant thing. This is original sin, at least on some level, right? Because we can acknowledge that, Ukraine may have overstepped by your principles, and I know you're a principled guy, that they overstepped their bounds when it came to how this political transition happened. But we're not going to completely write off a country that is now vying for independence with the people they disagreed with because the Russians have pissed off everybody so much.
I'm not saying write them off. I never said so there's two competing yes, American empire, good. I get it, right? But on principle, on the principles, it's very messy, right? It's actually not as clear that Ukraine is the good guy. I know we want to support them because they're pro-West. Sure, I get that. But our support for them should be contingent on them doing what is in the West's best interest. And also, honestly, the civilians there that are getting blown up as well.
Okay,
and our money as well. And I don't see the continuous warfare there and the potential of Ukraine collapsing. That's not good for us. It's not good for them.
It's good for us. It's definitely good for us.
I mean, there's a level where it goes kind of both ways, right? We don't want to see them collapse for a number of reasons, but also we know where this goes. The Russians have not been really low key in saying what they want. They want the old Soviet borders back, which puts them in a direct NATO fight with NATO. If Ukraine falls, we know where that goes next, right?
They're never going to get back. Hold on. The only Ukraine is one of the few countries left that they border that they don't have they don't have treaties with. That is not part of NATO, right? So it's basically Belarus, who's in their pocket, Ukraine, and then Georgia and Azerbaijan, which they're never going to go in. Well, they don't border Moldavia or Moldova. They have Transnistria, which is a breakaway region for sure.
Right,
but they don't have aspirations there.
No, they do. That's the thing.
That's also never happening.
No, Lukashenko actually showed the invasion map a week after it started. And I don't know why he did this, but it actually showed in the operational plan, and the whole world saw it, that part of the plan was to annex Moldavia in the operation. They weren't just going for Ukraine. They were going for Moldavia too, because they weren't a NATO ally.
I'm skeptical of this. Regardless, that's not going to happen, right? And unless Ukraine,
Finland too.
Finland's also not going to happen. They're NATO now. If Ukraine collapses, maybe it could happen where Transnistria, something happens with that. But as it stands right now, if they give up Crimea and the Donbass, that's going to have to happen if peace is going to happen. That's the best way to secure from further Russian encroachment. It's the only way.
This is blatant appeasement.
It's not blatant appeasement. It's been a war for the past 2 years. How many hundreds of thousands of Russians have been blown up?
Oh no!
It's we're gonna give away our land, and that's gonna stop them from invading us.
Sure. Was a deal with the Taliban appeasement? At what point does a peace treaty no longer become appeasement? At some point, this war has to end. Unless you're like Gibbs and you want to keep it going for the next 200 years. I assume you don't want that to happen.
No, I don't. I would like to see it where we can win. I'd like to see it where Ukraine wins. I don't think that's out of bounds, but it is getting less likely because we keep dragging our fucking feet. Now, we are going to see this probably change anyway because the French are openly saying now that they're going to join the fight.
Let me say something real quick before you go any further about the French thing. I just want to say This is how we get the Soviet borders: is this limp dick appeasement strategy that Lactoid is like wanting to adhere to.
Kind of with you on
The
this.
fact that the French,
You're blowing
the
my money
biggest-
on this.
Yeah, cool. You're blowing
My
listen,
stolen money. I thought you thought taxes were theft too.
Well, that's why I wanted private militarization to go bigger, and then we can make more money off it. But hey, here's the thing: America's biggest export is ass whippings and war. And so let me tell you, when we're gonna really sit here and sell all our old tech in perpetuity to these fuckers, then yeah, I do think it's gonna make more money for us. They're supposed to be paying us this back. If we let them
They're never
appease
paying it
Russia
back.
and eventually Ukraine, well, you know how we'll for sure never get the money back is if Russia conquers Ukraine. So like, if we're gonna keep following your appeasement strategy, in another 10 years, they're gonna go, you know what? Let's go carve off another little piece of that turkey that is Ukraine, and eventually they're going to keep doing that until they're over in France.
No,
and then it's going to be the French for right. I can't believe you want to let the French be more of a man.
No, they're not big. No, you're
Real
hold on.
quick.
You're taking my money and you're blowing it on this shit. Okay, firstly,
I
secondly,
thought you were a
literally blowing it.
testosterone-filled male, not a scared little baby like
Yeah,
the French.
Just because I don't want to drone bomb the border doesn't mean that I'm not a testosterone-filled man. Okay, I understand the necessity for war occasionally, but I also want to be reasonable with it. What I want to look at is like, okay, what are our interests here? What are the Russian interests? What are the Ukrainian interests? And our interests is not necessarily to stay in this war if Ukraine's going to lose. Ukraine has taken an incredibly hardline stance with the belief that they're going to keep getting support forever, and Russia cannot give up the Crimea or the Donbass. It will not give up. It can't give up. And just for political reasons, right? Putin will lose all credibility. The government, the ruling party will lose credibility. That can't happen for them. And because they're a nuclear state, because they're a nuclear state, it won't happen, right? If we start getting into the Moscow, like someone suggested, we're talking nukes. They're not going to let that happen. Just like if someone sent a tank contingent to Washington, D.C., it's just not. It's not going to happen.
So let me separate
It
this
looks
out.
like Osiris wants to get in here, though.
All right, real quick.
Can Osiris get a word in?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Because I am so confused how I am agreeing with Lactoid about this issue, and everybody else is on like it seems like wild tangents a little bit to me. It seems simple to me. We're giving them money so that they don't fucking collapse, but they can't have everything they want either. They say that they refuse to come to the table and have diplomacy, which is wild to me. On our dime.
No, it's not, Wildy. You're a Texan.
Well,
How-
you shut the fuck
exactly.
up, Gibbs.
You're a Hold on.
This is the most anti-Texas thing you've ever said.
Texas violence.
Listen, Gibbs. That's bullshit. Because even as a Texan, I'm not giving you my money, and you can just go fucking.
Oh, so you want to give
That's like
everything
you go to the strip
you want to give
club.
everything below the
Me and you go to the strip club. Hey, here's $1,000, and you go spend it on fat, ugly bitches. I'm taking my money.
Hold on,
Cyrus,
I don't know if you noticed, but you're pissing off 1984. He's getting red.
He's a Texan too. Let's ask him a Texas question. Do you think that hey, we should have appeased Mexico and gave back everything below the Oasis to Mexico instead of fighting them, beating their ass, and taking it all the way down to the Rio Grande? It sounds like that's what you're saying. You're going, oh no, they're so scary. Give it back to them. Oh,
if Trump was unconstitutionally removed from power, Texas has the right to secede.
It was on Texans' dime.
Exactly. So it should be the Ukrainians want to have.
Well, I mean, I agree that they're not as manly as
do that themselves.
I agree with that.
Okay, two sides of this. I'll hit the last one first. Number one is that they may have the right to secede, and we have the right to counter invade. Like, okay, cool. We've literally had a civil war over this.
Right. No, the Civil War was different. Okay, if the Democrat president at the time, which the South were full of Democrats, if the Democrat president won and then unconstitutionally they removed him and replaced him with Lincoln, the South would have been justified going to war on that basis. But that's not the basis that they went to war on. The basis they went to war was to defend slavery. Right? That was the real reason. That's what made that war unjustified.
The Civil War is not even the thing to bring up there. When I think it was Connecticut tried to secede from the Union and Andrew Jackson was president, he literally told them, like, it is your right to secede, but don't get it twisted. I will annex you.
Like most countries don't openly like secessionist movements. Like sometimes they'll let it go, like the Slovaks, right? Like they'll, you can see people like say, "Well, we're going to take our divorce." But if Texas left, like we're invading.
I understand we would. I understand we would. But what I'm saying is that if Texas just seceded, I would be like, what the fuck, Texas? You are like totally out of line. What the fuck? But if like Trump, let's say Texas voted for Trump overall, which I'm assuming would, and then Trump was unconstitutionally removed, and then Texas moved to secede, I would understand their position, and I might support them.
By the logic that we're going with, that they have the rights to succeed, and then the other side has the right to invade them back, doesn't that mean that China technically has the right to invade Taiwan?
We could also invade any country. We could invade Canada under this logic, or Mexico, because we have a right to conquer.
Well, I mean, let's get one thing straight.
Gibbs.
If there is any state, inside the United States that we're not going to let secede, it's definitely going to be Texas. Do you think we're going to let the third largest oil producing
let them secede, and then let's turn around and invade them and just turn them to
let me hit the real. God damn it, guys!
If the U.S. military can beat camel herders in Afghanistan who barely had weapons, you think they're going to beat Texans who every Texan's got 20 guns and has 1 million places to hide out? And like,
big advantage here. It's called home field advantage.
Yeah, the home field advantage. You're right. It is home
it's
field
literally
advantage for us.
Okay, right. I'm gonna get into a wild. God damn it! I'm gonna get a wild take here for a second, but I'm gonna go like hard in the memes. There is a level to where we have to acknowledge that there is internal fights to where like a minority, you can say that they're just oppressed or whatever, and they say fuck it, we're going to be independent, and the majority comes in and says no, you're fucking not. And when you have that internal domestic fight, there's a level where it's acceptable, and to understand to say, hey, look, you know what? Sometimes you don't get to fucking just do whatever the fuck you want because you don't agree on this issue.
Yeah, that's great. And that's you can say that, but here's the problem with this, right? You can say that about Ukraine with the Donbass because, hey, that used to be part of Ukraine, so they should get it back. However, if we want to broaden it a little bit, Ukraine used to be part of Russia. So shouldn't Russia also have the right to go reconquer it?
That's literally their pretext for this.
Well, I understand. I thought we were saying that was wrong.
I don't care if it's right or wrong. They've already committed to it. We need to show our commitment to resist it.
Okay, I do consider, although it's not like everything, I'm not like, I'm not a complete in the Henry Kissinger, right? I do think that right and wrong should somewhat inform our foreign policy. Just because we could nuke somebody doesn't necessarily mean we should.
Yeah, so like my issue here is like I'm not saying like we should be risking war against the Russians just because it's going to put like a bunch of tax dollars in somebody's pocket. It's moreover it's like who actually is trying to embody the things that we give a shit about? Ukraine, who is literally the antithesis of 90% of everything that we're supposed to give a shit about. The Russians. So do we have a vested interest in just murdering the Russians or destroying them as an entity? Yes, we do. Now, is there a little bit of that gray area to where you can say, oh, well, Ukraine did this and Ukraine did that? Yeah, that always fucking happens. I'm just kind of tired when it's very clear that we have people we like that is like plus 80 relations that we should be friends with. And because they just don't hit all of the fucking Star Spangled Banner here, we have to just sell them off or undersell them when they're doing all of the fucking work here. Versus,
I'm not saying like undersell them. I'm saying you got to be realistic about this. It's not like they're fighting this great patriotic fight. It's more complicated.
Yes, they are.
No, this
is literally a war of independence for them.
It's more complicated than that.
Yes, it is the word.
They are trying to enter into the Western global empire. That's what's happening.
Sure.
We are trying to wrestle them away from one of the other smaller empires into ours. That's the purpose.
Okay. No, we're not trying to wrestle them away. They're probably coming willingly because the way we do things is just better.
Actually, they're coming begging. They're actually been coming begging on their hands and fucking knees for like the last 10, 15 years.
Hands in
the people in Luhansk.
I'm talking about Ukraine in general.
Well, sure, and yes, if at the beginning of the war they said, okay, we're going to leave the Crimea, we're going to leave the Donbass because they want to they don't want to be part of this new global Western Empire, but the rest of us. Now we're going to go to join the Western Empire.
Yes.
Now maybe it's a much more understandable position.
I mean, as opposed to Crimea, who had guns pointed at them and like, vote whether you want us to stay.
Crimea, hold on, polls going all the way back to 2010. Crimea had consistently, the vast majority of people there had consistently voted that they wanted to leave Ukraine and join Russia specifically. Not even just independence. They wanted to leave and then join Russia, like over 60%. And then like only like sub 20% actually wanted to stay in Ukraine.
Look, I'll at least back up LetheWaterKai on this, at least this detail. There was a lot of people that were Russified or just straight up Russian within Eastern Ukraine, and it's been in the border region there forever. And there's some people that absolutely said, hey, look, we want to rejoin Russia. Quite frankly, I don't give a damn what the fuck they want, because what they're openly encouraging is that we want to be annexed into an authoritarian state. Like, bitch, if that's your opinion, fuck your opinion. Like, at what point does our values go, okay, well, even if you disagree with us, we're just going to let you do what the fuck you want? Like, I don't know. Like, if you all want to be that liberal, fine. I'm not. I'm just not that fucking liberal.
I empathize with that. I empathize with that. There is a level of, well, fuck you, whatever, like, fuck what you want. Like, this is the right way to do things. I get that, right? I'm a based defender of colonialism as well. But, like, when colonialism is met with fierce resistance, when it's costing us a fuck ton of money, and when our subjects aren't listening to us and are refusing to work with their invading power in order to come to some kind of equitable solution, we start having an issue. Like, I don't want to be paying for this for the next 20 years. We already have a lot of fucking debt. A lot of people here want to keep paying for this for the next 20 years because the Ukrainians are not going to back down unless we pressure them, and the Russians will not back down at all.
Okay, so the only separation I have with you here is that my concern is actually that the Russians do think that we're weak, and the same argument that you're kind of throwing at Ukraine, they're going to try to throw at us when it comes to the Baltic. Is that you got a lot of Russian minorities, they're going to invade them, they're going to say we're here for liberation, and then they're going to openly state what they've stated for Ukraine. They're going to turn it into a vassal state, and they're going to integrate it in their empire.
So, Article 5. In addition to that, LetheWaterKai.
Wait,
I understand Article 5. I don't think the Russians give a shit. I think they think we're weak enough. I think they'll think we'll scoop. I really
do. You think that you think that the Russians believe that we would tolerate an invasion of a NATO ally that we've explicitly made treaty obligations?
Said. We literally, two things. One, we have consistently said to the world, hey, here's our red line, whether it's Syria, whether it's X, Y, and Z things. We've done this before. Because we told the Russians we would, have extreme consequences when it came to the original invasion. And then what did we do? We did a sanctions package.
NATO
I know it's totally different. It brings it up to another level. But their whole argument here, and I can't say that they're wrong in saying this, is that Russia will support in every way that it can its goals. We will put our lives on the line to fucking get what we want. The Westerners will not do that. Which is why I'm really hoping that the French...
Wait.
Everybody wants to go ahead, Chuck. It's been a minute.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
So why do we give a single fuck what Russia thinks about us being weak or not? They lost their prize warship to a country that doesn't have a navy, and they're losing tank over tank in a country infinitely smaller than them. Why do we care how weak we view to them?
The reason that I'm stating this is because LetheWaterKai thinks that they're going to stop if we give concessions in Ukraine. I think it will only embolden them. We're consistently showing that we're willing to part and parcel people that like us or agree with us so that we can maintain our independence and security and freedom instead of actually putting it at risk.
They talked about trying to take back Alaska.
I think this is different.
They have said they want to take back Alaska.
That was my point.
They say that like every 8 years or so.
We had previously made a statement as to what you can't, a line that you can't cross. This is not a statement about a line that you can't cross. This is a conflict between those two countries that have a long history between each other. And unfortunately, but realistically, Ukraine lost some of its land. It did. And that was previous to this war officially started.
And they've been literally fighting ever since over it.
I understand that, and it's unfortunate. But on the same hand, they can't fight a forever war, because then we get a bunch of Admiral Gibbs, and I don't want that.
Look, I'm not saying that I'm pro forever war, but like if I'm in their situation, if I'm a Ukrainian nationalist and I'm saying, hey, look, these people are trying to take our land, I'd be kind of pissed. I would say, you know what, fuck it, forever war it is. I'm not going to let somebody push me fucking around.
Okay, that's fine, and I agree with you on that. That means that they would be funding it. They would be putting all their bodies in front of it, which they are doing right now.
They're doing all that, right?
Yeah, they're doing that, but they can't do it forever. They don't have the power to do it forever.
They'll do it until they can't, and that's the issue here. right?
That's sad, though.
It is sad,
Oh, well,
but that's the same conversation for the opposite party. I believe that Russia is is willing to commit to that level as well. So there's just basically a really short conversation here. What does our ethics and our values actually teach us? Do we go in to the degree that, the whole argument here, at least half of it, is our allies aren't pulling their fucking weight. Ukraine is literally putting their lives on the line, and we're going to back out of this fight? Like, this seems so fucking anti-American to me. It's ridiculous. If anything, if we actually believed in the values that we preach, we would say, hey, we're joining the fight, and go fuck yourself, Russia.
I want to add to that. Hold on. No, go ahead. This is to you, even actually. So you probably want to respond
to both. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing. He actually hit the nail on the head right there when he said it's against our values to let Russia do this. Because one, the ultimate value is capitalism, and if you're a true capitalism fan, then you're gonna look at this as a cost-benefit analysis. Russia has no intent to stop with Ukraine. They've made that clear. They're making moves in Africa. They're making moves towards. They want to make more moves into Europe. They think we're a bunch of bitches. They don't give a shit about Article 5. That's why France wants to go in there. That's why Poland has been gnashing at the bit to go in there. So they don't care about Article 5. They think we're weak. They think Ukraine is showing that we're weak by not committing. And this is why I think I'm a proponent of total war, because a total war, as much as it costs American taxpayers, is going to cost us less taxpayer dollars in the long run, because it keeps them weaker and not strong enough to actually threaten us and cost us in a real war.
Okay. So, Tiberius, when you said they're going to keep fighting until they can't anymore, this is one of my concerns, right? Because when it starts getting close to them not being able to fight anymore, what's the leverage to make a peace at all? What's the leverage to settle, right? If you've already won the trial, why are you going to settle? It doesn't make any sense. You settle beforehand because you don't want to risk. Yeah, you don't want because you're gonna have to risk a whole bunch of extra shit being lost. But if this goes on for another 5 or 10 years and Ukraine starts really losing shit, the Russians aren't going to give up, right? The Russians rejected peace treaties from Germany during World War II for a reason. It was unconditional surrender or nothing. Would they have made that same hardline stance at the beginning of the invasion when the Germans were pushing up against Moscow? Probably not. They probably would have came to peace, but the Germans were like, nope, we're going for the gold, whatever. And then when the Soviets started getting the high ground and they started getting momentum, they were not going to settle because now they're winning. What I'm concerned about is when the Russians start winning, which they probably are just because they have more people, they're a regional power that's right next to it, right? They are going to keep going, and then we're not going to be able to stop them anymore. Because what's going to stop them?
Right. So I have no problem with this argument on its head. The issue is that, one, do we believe that the Russians would be good faith enough that if they made basically a peace deal to where they're not getting what they've expressly stated, which is the complete and utter capitulation of Ukraine, are they going to do so in good faith? I don't fucking trust the bastards. If you do, you're made of different stuff than I am.
No, we can give the aid contingent to that. We can say we can bring Ukraine and Russia and say, look, we're about to give a $8 trillion fucking aid packages. We've already passed the House and Senate. Right, we're about to just flood them with enough, one attack them for every man, woman, and child. Unless we will give them nothing if they don't agree to this peace deal. What do you say?
Okay, so let me put this in a hypothetical for you, because I know you love your hypotheticals, right?
I love hypotheticals.
Okay, so the basically the deal would be this: Ukraine would have to forfeit 4 or 5 provinces that the Russians have basically claimed to annex.
Yep.
In exchange for that, we're giving them tactical nuclear weapons.
What?
Are you okay with this?
I would accept that.
Wait,
okay.
No, you can't be against that. You're literally 1984.
Hold on, y'all thought
you should be yes.
War man, really mad right now. Though.
I'll tell you why I'm not reading that because
or U.S. nuke station there.
Yeah, there you go. That's the correct.
Just
answer.
like we do in Israel.
No, why would we want their shit blamed on us when we do something?
Because I don't want Ukrainians having the codes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fuck the Ukrainians.
I don't want us to get blamed for when shit goes hot, red hot over there.
If we had,
I mean, we're gonna get blamed anyway. We're America.
Yeah.
But
I think we're gonna get blamed.
We have this in Turkey, and that was a fucking
about time.
hassle.
It's about time we hit the next topic. So closing statements on this one.
Stop that shit.
Yes.
I will build a bridge.
I'm going strong.
Here's the solution, and I will agree to form a peace deal. Ukraine officially becomes part of the United States, and then Russia can have the parts they already control, and then they are now a bitch. Except they're going to be a special economic territory, and none of them get rights as citizens.
I don't think the Ukrainians even want that.
Exactly, but that's
No,
the only way
that-
I'm agreeing to a peace deal.
well, at least Gibbs has made his point.
Gibbs wants them to
No,
be the European Puerto Rico.
So at least I think we've established the difference here is like I just don't trust the Russians to act in good faith, and the only way I would actually personally say, all right, Ukraine can fend for itself is if they actually have the means to, and that is giving them nukes. It's like, all right, Russia, well, too bad.
Or
like
putting them in NATO.
I mean, we can put them in NATO. I'm fine with that, but we know exactly where that goes. They're going to immediately invoke Article 5.
No. Part of a requirement of joining NATO is that you don't have territories that are contested with any other nation. So what Ukraine would have to do is immediately renounce all their claims on the lost territory, and then they could join NATO.
I mean, theoretically, yes, but
like nukes to begin with. But then Russia was like, "Hey, if you give us that, we won't do anything to you." And then,
actually, that was our bad. We took their nukes and we gave them we literally gave them a guarantee of defense. We actually told
Russia guaranteed that defense too.
Oh, didn't they? Well, of course they're liars.
They're defending Ukraine against the Nazis.
That's why it's laughable when everyone's like, "Why don't they just make a peace deal with Russia?" And I'm like the similar 3 other peace deals that they've made with Russia that they've gone back on every time.
Like the Russians are. I just don't believe the Russians are good faith here. Like no matter what the deal is, if they don't get what they want, they'll needle and edge their way into getting the deal that they want.
Yeah, that's.
You thought the Russians were good faith to begin with. You're the problem.
Hold on,
honestly.
I don't know where you stand, left or right, but that has been like our argument. Like the Republicans argue anytime any deal has ever been made with I don't know. Iran, and like everybody's like, oh, it's so good, they're so good faith, and then when lo and behold they're not, everybody's shocked. Same thing with Russia. Why are Republicans doing the same thing the Democrats do with Iran, or I don't know, I guess Lactoid's a socialist libertarian, but I don't know why we're gonna sit here and go, hey, we should go and sit here and make deals with Russia. They're good faith. It just is mind-boggling.
I don't think anybody thinks they're good faith. Is that we expect them to be realistic? Like you know what I'm saying? If you pay $10 for something, you expect to get at least $10 worth of something back. And we expect that from them.
That's the inherent argument with where this is with being good faith is that no matter how rational you are, if you're literally just saying, hey, yeah, I'll do this deal, and then literally the guy's got the knife to hit you in the back the moment that you turn your back, what's the point?
I'm fine. I am fine.
I'm not even going against you.
I know. But
the people.
I would agree with you. There needs to be security guarantees in exchange for the peace deal. Like there needs to be something solid of they're not going to. Yeah, like Ukraine joining NATO, right? Or some kind of like a military alliance.
That's what they're going to do. These guarantees.
What do you mean? What do you mean Russia's not good faith? You mean the people that sent their army unmarked into a territory, and then when everyone's like, "Hey, why is your army here?" They're like, "Oh, that's obviously not our army. They don't have the Russian flag on their arm."
Yeah, the little green men.
I'm really with them on this one. The Russians have clearly not demonstrated any level of good faith, and I'll actually. You know what? I will even simp for this a little bit. The level of commitment that they've shown, no matter how barbaric and no matter how much I disagree with it, is admirable. They're willing to throw lives at this kind of thing. They're willing to throw money and just sheer value of their nation at this particular project that they're undertaking.
Like throw away lives, straight up lied,
unironically,
gaslight entire countries.
Yeah, you know who else did that? Saddam Hussein. Good guy here.
The long and the short here is that at least for me, I wish it wasn't this cut and dry, but to me it is. And if I'm a zealot, so be it. I'm a right winger. We do that easily. The reality, at least for me, is simple. Russia is the bad guy. Ukraine is the good guys. Are we gonna fucking do anything about it?
I disagree. Tiberius. I don't know why we're disagreeing on this shit, but I disagree.
I was gonna say this is so unlike you. I think you're doing this just to do it.
No, fuck that. Because
it's Texas. We all know it's Texas.
He's being anti-Texas.
He is being anti-Texas.
Fuck you, Jim.
No, you would be the kind of guy. You would be the kind of guy that would sit here and go, "We should give everything below the Nueces back to Mexico." Oh no, it's so scary.
No. The difference is because I wouldn't go to the fucking DC and be like, "Hey, can you fucking hold my penis for me while I'm
because Texas
can go do something."
Shit.
I don't give a fuck. Hey, listen, if somebody came to my house and was to do that shit, we're all in. Kids, women, children, everybody. Fuck it. Before you take this shit, you're all gonna die. Difference is, I didn't go to my neighbor and ask him for a fucking loan. I didn't do that. And he's not funding my shit. That's the difference.
Well, I
If they
agree with
want to do
that.
that, they can do that all day. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Listen, they can fight for the next 1,000 years. I wouldn't give a fuck.
I
They
know
can
we
have
both
religious war.
agree.
They can
I
do
know that we
everything.
both agree that Texans have more balls than Ukraine and will have more gumption, and that's why we were able to take back the part that Mexico tried to steal back. I agree, and that's not something we disagree on. However, in this case, since they don't have the sack of us Texans, we got to do something.
I'm not holding. So you want to hold their sack for them?
I would listen. If it stops Russia from taking their ass, then maybe.
So that's not my problem. I don't give a
Hey,
fuck.
if
You
it's
know
that
what?
holding their ass,
You know what? I've been convinced. I'm with 1984 now. We need.
welcome to the good side.
I've absolutely been convinced. But I tell you what, if you bring me like space capitalism and like managed democracy with your 1984 thing, that'd be like my flavor going forward there.
This dude must have worked on
Perfect.
TV.
Hey, we are getting
Nice
straight
segue.
to space capitalism. So, any closing statements on this one? Because, goddamn.
Texas doesn't exist.
Yeah, go ahead, Lactoid.
I'll give a closing statement as I guess the primary opponent here to forever war craziness. For those of you who just take the West narrative for the Ukraine war, I would advise that you guys look into polling in Crimea and the Donbass prior to 2014. And also prior to, obviously prior to 2022, because those areas were in rebellion. And also look at the fact that those areas voted for a president that was unconstitutionally removed from power. The Ukrainian constitution has very specific parameters of how to remove a president. And the Euromaidan protesters did not follow that. He was removed from power unconstitutionally and replaced. When that happens, I think that the places that voted for that president do have a bit more justification and a bit more right to secede and to leave because their will was not respected. I think Texas would have a stronger argument for leaving if they voted for Trump and then Trump was removed unconstitutionally. I think California would have a stronger argument for leaving if Biden was unconstitutionally removed. And that's what happened in Ukraine. So I understand the West global empire. I get it. I appreciate it. But in this circumstance, when it's more complicated than our media is telling us, and we're throwing a tremendous amount of money, and we're not putting restrictions on that money, we're not saying, hey, we'll give you this money, but you got to make peace. We got to figure this out. I think it's a recipe for forever war and annihilation of hundreds of thousands and potentially over the long run, perhaps even millions of people. And I don't like to see that.
I'll definitely do my own. And this will be a little bit of a rebuttal. I apologize, Lactoid. I understand that this is risk. This is risk, right? We're talking about another nuclear armed state that literally, if theoretically could, kill 40 million people. If that's what the level of commitment that we're dealing with, right? If that scares the shit out of everybody, it should. Right? I don't want to act like that this is something that is just, we're going to go on this great moral crusade and we're going to liberate Ukraine and destroy Russia for the good of capitalism and democracy. I mean, as much as I want to do Helldivers, the reality here is pretty straightforward, is that it is hard and it's complicated. But if there is any time that I think we should look at things on a grandscape ethical level of what we're doing, this is one of the most cut and dry situations that we can look at. These are people that we like. These are people that are fighting for the values that we uphold, that we say that we actually give a shit about, and they want to join the team, and we're like, nah, fam, we might lose our Xboxes. I'm sorry, I can't, I feel like this conversation is a betrayal to everything that is American, in my eyes, is the fact that we even have to have this conversation. The fact that we're not openly saying we're willing to join immediately when this level of threat is put to liberalism and democracy and capitalism, I don't know how we fucking live with ourselves. I really don't. But, maybe I'm a zealot. Anyway, thank you very much for having me on this particular topic. Lethe, what's number 2?
I mean, you did this.
Do I not get a closing statement?
You absolutely do. But let me shout out Ty real quick. This amazing topic and the one that's coming come to us by virtue of Tiberius D. Thank you for all you do for us.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Duck.
Oh, I was just going to say that, yep, I'm doubling down. I'm with 1984 on this one. That America is great. America is good. I enjoy freedom, and I think other countries will too. And to prove it, we're going to go there and shoot some people.
Amen. Amen.
Okay.
Nothing, Gibbs. Oh, Vigilante, go ahead.
I said amen. Sounds good to me.
I'm gonna be honest here. Like I really like on the Ukraine part at least for the most part I agree with Ty. Except for the part of like all the shit about like spreading democracy shit. For the most part, I'm an isolationist. The only reason I side with Ukraine is because Ukraine is actively defending themselves. I think they have the right to defend themselves, and I think we should help them defend themselves because they can't do it on their own. I don't give a flying fuck about whether or not we're on the same side because of similar beliefs and shit like that. I think in general we should only be helping people who are actively defending themselves. That's Ukraine, that's be Taiwan if they actually get invaded, etc.
I'm glad you left that last one out. We're good. Everything's good. So, on to the second topic, unless Gibbs had
Space
something.
capitalism.
I mean, yeah, I already said my closing statement earlier.
All right. The popular game Helldivers 2 announced before the weekend that any player on PC would have to link their account to PlayStation account in order to play. During this time span, Helldivers 2 went from being the second most played game on Steam to not even in the top 10, and had its reviews crash from very positive to mixed. How is it that a popular game can be ruined for an entire community in a weekend? And what should be done to make sure this doesn't happen again? As of the posting of this, they have walked back on this due to great popular opinion. So PlayStation will not be requiring Helldivers 2 players to link their Steam accounts to PlayStation Network accounts, following widespread backlash from the game's community. This follows days of turmoil amongst players, leading to Helldivers 2 on Steam dropping from a mostly positive rated to a mixed for all reviews and mostly negative for recent reviews. Even the first Helldivers started receiving bad reviews as a result of this. According to developer Arrowhead Game Studio, Johan Pilset, Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. A post made today on X, formerly Twitter, dead name it. The May 6th update, which should have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. We're still learning that what is best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again for continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated for future plans. And from what I've heard recently, somebody has lost their job in regards to this decision. So what can we do to make sure they never even consider doing something like this again in the future? Starting with Gibbs.
First of all, I want to say that as a fan of like nerddom in general, like things like 40K and Star Wars, the gatekeeping and woke battle has kind of like been a big thing in those communities, right? And there's been issues with it, and we've seen basically Star Wars as a franchise is kind of on life support at the moment. There's some bright spots, and then there's some pretty negative spots. Right? 40K has had a very bleak financial report come out recently at Games Workshop due to some of these issues. Arrowhead, however, is the epitome of what we should be doing gaming wise, right? They gate kept, they held the line, and Arrowhead as a studio listened. And they not only did what y'all said, which is hey, and what you said, which is hey, we're gonna force PlayStation not to make this happen. We're not gonna have PlayStation Network be across the board. We're gonna be in all these countries that couldn't do it. But in addition to that, someone's going to lose their job. And furthermore, in game, we are going to roast the dumbasses that pushed this decision and embrace our community and drop a cape with the graph of the negative reviews as a feature on the back of the cape. This is the epitome of listening to your consumer base and following through. And that's what these companies need to do. Companies that like BioWare with SWTOR, who have listened to the community and want certain changes to be made, and they make them. Companies like Arrowhead. And this is why I think maybe this weekend I'm going to buy the Super Citizen pack and actually spend some money on this game, because companies that listen to their communities deserve financial reward in a capitalistic society. And I strongly urge everybody else here that enjoys Helldivers to go spend money on this game this weekend and show their support for the move that they've made.
Awesome. Duck. You were muted.
No, it wasn't. So, It's a really kind of like complex situation. Sony did screw the pooch by trying to like squeeze those extra like not subscriptions, but those extra like account addings in.
Those extra ducks.
But there are some more tragic things that have unfolded from this. The community manager Spitz did get fired from this. Because he's the one that directed people towards the Steam page to express their grievances there and not in their Discord. And that was the decision that they decided to let him go on. I'm not sure if we should be treating community managers like this, because their entire job is to lead the community and direct them in ways that are healthy. So as far as I'm concerned, he was just doing his job in that area.
All right. Lactoid.
All right, so a couple of admissions here. I feel much more strongly about the first topic than this one, but I'm going to engage very much because
You're not a quitter.
I'm not a quitter. That's what I do. I do think it's funny that we, global war and
This is Ukraine.
I know we're talking about a game, but I get it. So the first thing is, maybe I'm just being myopic. I think that people are kind of freaking out about this too much. A game tried to link with Sony, and people didn't like it, so they said, "Oh, don't do that." And then eventually they relented and decided they're not going to do it. Great, that's good. A company listened to their customer base. That's good. I'm glad that they did it. In terms of the actual concerns that people brought forward, sure, I understand that people are concerned about Sony's privacy track record, which is particularly poor. There's a lot of people who bought the game who wouldn't be able to access it. I think that Sony, honestly, in my opinion, if Sony should have to give them refunds if they actually put forward this policy through and cut off their access. But other than that, if this is just like a tale of the customer base rising up and saying, "Hey, company, do what we want you to do because otherwise we're going to be mad," then this is a good example of that. And I'm happy for them. And for all of you who play Helldivers, I hope you're happy.
All right. Osiris.
Okay. This is a fucking travesty against gaming, what Sony did. Fuck Sony. And not just Sony, all the other companies who have tried to do this stupid shit. What they were just trying to do is get extra fucking money out of their customer base. And to be clear, be extra clear, this was not the developers who did this. This was Sony who did this. Very different bureaucracy of people, very different company, very different everything. And Sony tried to reach in the Helldivers' pockets and and steal a little bit of money. And if anybody who lives in the hood knows that you don't let motherfuckers reach in your pockets. Fuck all that shit. And then they got caught reaching in their pocket. And then they didn't relent because it was the right thing to do. They relented because the fucking numbers dropped. Because they reached back in their pockets. They understood what happened. Nobody's gonna fuck with your game if you keep fucking over your customer base. And this is a big win for gamers because this is not the first time this has happened. This has been happening for 10 plus years at least, where the publisher has reached in the pockets while the developers had nothing to do with it. So shout out to the developer. And for the community manager who lost his job, I disagree with Duck a little bit. If you direct people to the Steam page and allow people to review bomb, that's not good. I think it's unethical, the review bomb game. I think customers need to stop doing that. You need to go through the proper channels. You need to go through Twitter, you need to go through Facebook, you need to go through the Discord, you need to go through the support page, you need to go through all these things. But killing the game on site, which is what you're doing when you're review bombing it, is unethical to me. That's absolutely atrocious.
But where else are you supposed to talk about your grievances with the game than in the reviews that are there to talk about what you don't like about the game?
I'll get into that open panel.
We will get into that.
Yeah.
Tiberius.
Okay, I will give some disclaimers. While this is a video game, I do think it's part of something that's definitely bigger that we need to have a conversation about. But before I get there, number one, I do not own or not have played Helldivers 2. However, it is such a popular and meme game that there's still shit that I know about it considerably, right? I know what Malevolent Creek is. I understand that the bots were defeated and then came back with 10 times the numbers. I get this shit fed to me all the time because of how popular and how big this game has become. So like there's levels where I'm happy that people have a community that is both engaging, but most importantly, it's fun. This is a game that has record low levels of toxicity, is generally a well done game for $40 that people can enjoy together. It's a pinnacle, at least from the gamer base, is saying this is what we want to see more of. And so this is where my issue is. Number one, this topic was posted already after the withdrawal announcement. It's still a topic because it can and will
afterwards. For the record, sorry, I hate to interrupt opening, but it was posted before the withdrawal announcement.
No, it wasn't. It dropped Monday morning is when the withdrawal announcement. I gave him this topic Monday afternoon after it was already announced that they were withdrawing it.
I even asked him, like, "Hey, does this make a difference?"
Yes, it's still a thing. I regard this as a win, but I regard this as barely a win because this is the one out of few times that the gamer community, particularly for something that is popular, has actually mobilized to counteract something that, basically big gaming, for lack of a better term, has been pushing down our throats. And while I do take the win, the issue that I keep finding is that this was the player base that was the most vocal in ending the console wars from the get-go. How many people within their forums and with their community is saying, when does the Xbox players get to join us? They've openly said, we want to expand it. And then Sony came down hard with the most anti-popular decision they could have, where they're basically showing this was a monopoly that we licensed out to PC. Like, not only am I still pissed off that this happened, but that we have nothing to stop Sony or anyone else from doing this shit ever again. I'm tired of third-party authentications, whether it's EA or whoever the fuck else, that I have to sign in for. If it's PC, it signs in through the seller, and I'm fucking done. I don't need 4 accounts to play your fucking game. That's goddamn ridiculous. And I'm tired of the monopolization of where if you release a game, it shouldn't go just to this one platform. No, put it on all the platforms because that's how you build communities. That's how you have fun. Literally, big gaming is making gaming bad and toxic, and it's all their fault. Fuck them.
Thank you, Tiberius. Vigilante.
Yeah, I also have not played Helldivers at all. I know a decent amount about it, but so I generally
hear treason.
I'm generally against the idea of like boycotting games and stuff because for the most part it does not work. I said this whenever we had the whole topic about the whole fucking Hogwarts shit was going on. Like generally speaking, unless you manage to piss off an entire player base, a boycott's not going to fucking work. This is one of the examples where it does work because they pissed off their entire player base. The other big example of this is Battlefront 2, which was mentioned by Gibbs. Just generally speaking, this stuff doesn't work. But I don't necessarily agree with Ty that like the linking shit needs to go away in its entirety because like I don't think it should be required like they were trying to do. That's kind of dumb. But there's a reason a lot of games do linking shit, like what Destiny 2 is a great example. You link your accounts, you get cross-platform access. So you could play on PlayStation and have all of the shit that you have on PC and shit. So like that stuff, there's a reason that is a thing. Yeah.
So considering PlayStation Network is not allowed in many countries, and we are being forced to be put onto a network that has been notoriously hacked, where do we stand on this? Opening up the conversation.
Oh,
okay. So
this was asking to me real quick. What was your question to me, real quick?
Fuck. What was it?
Just review bombing. It was just, hey, like what? Like, why is this not the most appropriate place?
Yeah, where else are people supposed to put their grievances? Like Twitter? Like when you have a problem with like YouTube censoring one of your videos, you have to go on Twitter to get. Everyone hates that. That's why when YouTube started being more direct with people, like everyone was ecstatic about that. Steam reviews is where you're supposed to go when you have a problem with the game to like let other people know that are trying to buy the game, what other people think about it.
Well. Again, there's a separate problem. You have to separate out the problem. If the developers are doing something bad, then I think that's okay to bomb their reviews because they created the game, and then therefore you should say it's just a bad game. The game is not a bad game. That's not true. It's not a bad game. So what the problem is, one of the solutions that you can have is you can not play the game, right? And that way you archive the quality of the game while also taking money out of their pockets. That's one way. That's not a direct way, but it is one way.
What does it take money out of their pockets unless you don't buy the game?
Stop it. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
I'll let you can respond, but yes, it does. Absolutely, it does. Especially when you have a game as a service. Now, Helldivers 2 is not as much as a game as a service as like say something as a full blown game as a service such as World of Warcraft.
No, you're wrong.
It's not as much. Not as much.
It's more.
Well, you can explain that to me in a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's ways to do it. So the customer base can vocally do it through social media, and coupled with the declined player base, that would effectively tell the publisher that we're not fucking with what you're doing, right?
Okay.
Like so, like of Overwatch. The reason Overwatch gets to get away with what it does is because people are hating the changes, but people continue to play the game, and that is one of the reason. Yeah.
The reason why I'm having problem with what you're saying, because like I get what you're saying, but the reason why I think the context of the situation goes past what you're saying is the unique situation that was happening with the game is that it was being sold in places where it is either illegal or impossible to have a PSN account. And so the unique situation is that there are people that are buying the game that within a month are not going to be able to play the game anymore legally, and they'll just have $40 ripped from them.
So I would agree with that. I would agree with
also,
that.
on top of that,
I would agree with that.
So
real quick,
you would want to leave that in the game review so that way people
100%.
buying the game would know.
Well, I'm making a general statement that I don't think review bombing is ethical. But now, if that's what's happening, well, no, it's not. If that is what is happening, then of course, then you should leave bad reviews about a game that you bought that you had a determined, I guess, contract with. That this is how the game is going to work, and then
because like I'll agree with you, it's not the game's fault. There's nothing wrong. Yeah. Like with the game that you're being played, what's wrong is like having your accessibility to that game denied because of the country you're in because of what Sony's pulling.
I want to hold on. I actually want to jump on this because I think this is a rare opportunity that we're having right now on the panel. Like very few times do we actually have a chance where there's a possibility to move somebody. Usually people are pretty entrenched and we yell and we embrace memes. I think there's a way we can. Yeah, sure. There's a lot of us. I think that we can actually move you on this issue. And this is why, because you mentioned, we can try. So I think it's because of your understanding of games. Yeah, we can try. Because I think it's your understanding of games as a service, right? And I said I think there are more than, say, you described World of Warcraft. And
I would hard disagree on that. I would hard disagree that this is more of a...
You can disagree,
this is definitely less of a game of a service than
because I'm going to show you three different examples. And one of them you mentioned and I also brought up is Battlefront 2. And that's the example of what a games company does wrong at first, and they eventually fix it. And then, it's still controversial, but I think EA is in a good place with Battlefront 2 now. But this could have been one of the biggest games of all time if they'd done it right? Versus like SWTOR, which is got like Star Wars or the Old Republic, which is like one of the most successful MMORPGs of all time because they've consistently listened. And that's probably the most games as service, right? Mm-hmm. As a service that I can think of in this example that I want to use. It's a good game.
WoW is also in the same boat as
WoW. I know WoW has had more controversies recently, but either way. But this is why I think community, maybe they, as a community, they got the goodwill side more, and this is why I think your opinion on the review bombing is incorrect, and it's because as the game has progressed, they very much shown they want to reward players when they do something that's impressive in-game lore-wise. Like when they won, basically they gave them too hard. This is recently. Joel, the game manager, basically made too hard of a invasion invasion plan for one of these groups, and they lost the first one, won the second one, and he was, oh wow, so they gave him major boost, and it was to reflect the in-game changes due to this unexpected victory that they should not have got, and they did this whatever, or things like the article I just posted where they make fun of the reviews by they're making a cape with the review bombs because they were so influential in stopping something that the community as a whole, PlayStation gamers, Steam gamers, all of them wanted, and like they show it and they actively interact with the community. If you like interact with them on Twitter, they're very interactive. They've encouraged like third-party apps like Divers Hub. They've been very big on pushing all these things. Like this is something like that, maybe like and I'm incorrect in saying like in the actual technical sense to like they might not be as a community as a service kind of game, but in a more of a sense, they more fall along the lines of like SWOTOR than like WoW, because WoW has disregarded what the community wanted sometimes, and they sometimes still don't give the things the community has wanted, as opposed to like SWOTOR, who just did a massive drop with like, oh, we're going to allow flirting with companions, and we're going to add date night to companions you couldn't do before, and it's going to have an AI generated stuff. Like they're doing wild stuff because that's what the community is asking for, and that's the same thing that Helldivers is doing, and that's why Tiberius' whole question here that he proposed at the beginning, this is the example of a company that is doing things the right way. I just watched Act-Man the other night. I've never watched Act-Man before, and I was very impressed with how he compared the differences between the new coming game, Star Wars Outlaw, and Helldivers. And you go to Arrowhead's website, they don't have anything pushing the Super Citizens back, and they have all these things, and their mission statement is to build a community where people can play together and have fun and enjoy a game, versus EA's is give me your money, give me your money, give me your money. And that's kind of like the thing here. PlayStation was trying to inflate their numbers for their account holders, and the people that were on Steam weren't having it. And so they were absolutely justified in review bombing and making sure that their community members could continue to play this game, because all these community members in these other countries were about to be axed.
Okay, so
Well,
I'll agree with it. I would agree with you that they were trying to. That was Sony's motive here. They were trying to inflate their fucking failing ass numbers.
Sure.
Bullshit ass company, dumb shit. What I don't agree with you is I think we just disagree with the definition of what games as a service means. Games as a service doesn't mean who's influencing who as far as the player base versus the developer or the publisher. Games as a service just simply means that it's a continuing service that you pay into over time, right? Like that's all it means. And WoW is
Yeah.
most games.
There's more to that, but yeah, that's why I think.
Yeah, so games as a service would be games like WoW, like Destiny, like Star
Right.
Wars: The Old Republic, stuff like that.
Okay,
That's
so
why I
I have
compared
the
the two
I have
and the
the
differences.
perfect analogy to catch Osiris.
Go.
Like, Osiris.
All right, give me.
All right, so Osiris, what's essentially happened here is like if I sold you a car, right, and the car is capable of OnStar. You don't have to buy it, but it's capable of OnStar. And then 3 months down the line, I sent you an update that said, by the way, if you don't subscribe to OnStar, I'm disabling your car.
That's exactly
No.
what happened.
So I already agreed with you. And in the countries and the places that's happening, that you had an agreement as to what this was that you were buying, and you changed that post purchase. Yeah, that's fucked. You should then review that as such. So I will do this. I will take back, in this case, maybe the review bombing might be justified, right? In this case, I just in general though, I think review bombing is being used as an unethical tactic in general in the gaming industry. I don't like review
I would
bombing.
I would hard disagree on that, because the thing is, the only way to get people to not buy a game in general, like if you're trying to protest it, is to review bomb. So like what they did with Helldivers. Well, no,
but that's not what they were
here's the thing. Like if you're trying to prevent, like if you're trying to complain, if you're trying to prevent people from wanting to buy a game, like review bombing is the only way to do that, because and this is why I talked about this the way that I did whenever we first started. Like if we look at the Hogwarts Legacy situation, they purely complained about that via doing the social media shit. They didn't do the review bombing or anything like that. Or you can look at the Tarkov situation that also happened recently, where that was mostly just social media shit. And in both cases, people continue to play the game, people continue to buy the game. That shit doesn't work. Sure, Tarkov backed up on their shit, backed down on their shit, but that's for different reasons. Most of the community believes that Battlestate manufactured that shit on purpose because of the simple fact of when it comes to publicity, there is no such thing as bad publicity.
Tell Drake
I'm gonna
that.
disagree. Yeah, tell Drake that for sure. No, I disagree with that
he's-
because that
Publicity got him so hard that he's not even black anymore.
I mean, well, listen, that was a crime. We should hold Kendrick Lamar.
That's not bad publicity. That's not bad
the
publicity.
crime
That's
was
getting
Drake's
fucking
bodyguard.
roasted. The
That
same
was
thing
the
happened
crime.
to MGK. That's just getting roasted. That's just getting roasted. The same thing happened to MGK, and he's not in rap anymore.
I look at it from a developer standpoint, because I tangentially, parallelly work in the industry, right? Not in the gaming, just in IT in general. You make a product, right? You make the product, you make this game, and then the publisher does the thing. They do some fucked up shit, which is often what happens in gaming. It's the publisher, it's not the developer who's doing the thing. It's the publisher that does the thing. And there's nothing wrong with the game, right? Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with the game. The reason I'm going to agree with Duck on this one is because they changed the contract on what you understood that you purchased the game in some countries. I'll agree with that. But otherwise, with minus that, you review bomb the game. The game is still good, and you just don't like what the publisher did. That should be voiced under different circumstances, because now what you're doing is you're ruining it for the developer, all the hard work they put in, and any future prospective gamers or who would come across this game and who might want to play this game, despite your opinion. I was going to say stupid opinion, but that's loaded. My bad.
Well, with that statement, I have to ask: should you be mindful of, as a developer, what companies you decide to get in bed with, in case they decide to pull a move like that and shaft your customers and your player base?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you can't
that's the whole reason why
absolutely control that. If you're working with a big company, that's just something that's on the table that could happen. But
no, you can control it though. Like, look at Bungie. Bungie backed out from Activision for similar fucking
only
reasons.
because it's Bungie, one of the biggest companies there is.
But Osiris, do you game on console or PC?
Listen, I'm an elitist. I only game on PC. All right.
Okay. Well, then you should understand that this is something that the PC crowds had to deal with for a long time. The only reason that we have online play for free, because they did try to push the subscription thing on us like they did for the console players. The only difference is the console players gave in and just went with it, and PC players had a long campaign where they fought this and they eventually
won.
More
games. We got way more options. We don't have to fuck with your shit. The problem with the console,
and so this is something that PC players just have to deal with every so often. And this was another push yet again from publishers trying to push that on us, and so we retaliated.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. 1,000%.
But so there is an example.
Yeah, people still let places like WoW get away with it.
Well, you asked earlier. Somebody asked.
They're not getting away with it. That's a separate situation.
Well, you guys got scammed, is what happened.
And it's not separate.
Yeah,
it's a separate situation.
That's why I refuse to play WoW, is because they are fucking scamming people.
MMOs are expensive to maintain.
Dude, there are other MMOs that get away with it without doing the fucking subscription service shit, like fucking Black Desert Online.
Name me a free one that you don't have to pay for. That's good.
KOTOR.
Star Wars: The Old Republic. You actually don't have to play for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and it's one of the best MMOs out there.
It's hands down, and it's still one of the best MMOs. They have great voice actors. They have great story. They have some of the. Honestly, this is why I'm so.
Who's publishing that game? Who's publishing?
It was BioWare.
EA.
They just sold it. They just sold it to somebody else is going to do the publishing from now on.
Who's the original publisher?
It was BioWare.
Oh no, the developer was BioWare. The publisher was EA of all people.
I would like to know more about that. It feels like
they just sold it
and ate that money for that because
it's still one of the hands down best games, and they keep adding new stuff. And then everybody was worried when they switched to a new game manufacturer recently. I can't think of the name of the one they switched to, but the new one immediately said, "Hey, here's new features were initially dropping on drop day this month," and they were all features people have been asking for. So
it's
clearly,
still published by EA, by the way.
Yeah, it's still published by EA. So
the developer now is Broadsword.
Yeah,
the developer now is Broadsword. The publisher is still EA.
Okay, great. You got one game and one publisher. that is willing to eat the cost of an MMO. Great.
Well, but they also give you features that are worth paying for. I mean,
Hold on.
I pay for them, and I enjoy their features, and it's worth
Let's see.
paying for. As opposed to
I
like,
mean, that might be why they're winning, and I would agree with that. If they're actually listening to the community,
Let's see.
that might be why they're winning. There's only a very few MMOs that are
No.
actually able to accrue any amount of profit, and not only that, there's a reason why we don't see a bunch of MMOs popping up randomly all over the place because they're expensive, and you have to get people to pay for them.
Here, let's see. Some of the free MMOs on Steam currently right now. Stay Out, New Genesis,
I don't know about what trash ass MMOs.
I wouldn't play any of those.
Guild Wars.
Yeah.
I've actually heard.
I've got 2,000 games that I wouldn't, and half of them I wouldn't play. I don't care about the games I wouldn't play, or nobody else even plays.
I mean, but there are
I've
some big
heard
ones. Like
that
Eve Online. Like, what's that one? The big one. What's the one in space? The big space one where it's like they have those massive ones, and that guy stole like when it was within game rules.
That was
like,
Eve Online.
Is it Eve Online? Yeah, that's the one I guess I'm thinking of where you stole like millions.
I think it's easier to name all the MMOs that don't take place in space. You know how much money they dump
in that game? You know how much money Eve Online makes? And that shit is crazy. Do you know how much money they made before they even released the game? Like officially?
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's because do you know how they fund those games instead of doing the subscription shit that like WoW does?
Yeah, I understand.
They do it by they fund it through the fucking in-app purchases. That's what they do. And that's a significantly better yeah, funding it through microtransactions versus doing what say WoW does and doing a constant subscription, or doing what Destiny does, and where you have to spend like fucking $60 to $100 every fucking year to buy a new DLC, is significantly more ethical than.
I don't really care about that. I'm not saying it is or not. I'm just saying it's expensive, and you can't expect these types of games to be not free.
Okay, well, I'll give you a non-MMO one that's just a massive failure that's only recently come back. Halo Infinite. Like, it started off hot, it dropped, and it didn't have people, they didn't have the features people wanted about 6 months in, and the game completely failed. And that's because, guess what? 343 has been notorious for doing the opposite of what Arrow has done, which is listen to their customer base. And as to Lethe's question, should companies be like 343 in this case? They don't have as much say so because they're underling of Microsoft. But like companies like GW with 40K have now gotten in bed with Amazon, and Amazon has pushed certain things to change 40K lore in order to do the stuff in for the Amazon series. And this has really hurt them. And it looks like it's about to hurt their bottom line really bad, to the fact that they're now having firings, and some of their CEO, the C-suite staff are selling their stocks. And so when I'm looking at this, I can look at across the board, and the answer to the original question is, what can game developers do to avoid the wrath of Khan? It's fucking pretty clear. It's listen to their goddamn consumer base and produce shit that people actually want to spend money on. And otherwise, you're going to get review bombed, and you're going to get your shit boycotted, and you're going to have people ask for a refund.
And unlike the movie industry and the TV industry, you don't have to spend $30 fucking million. All right, listen. This game, Helldivers, is not even a big company. The company that makes this game is a small company. They're sending their grandchildren to college off this shit for sure. And they're doing this shit. There's a bunch of fucking indie games out there that are fucking smashing it. There's a bunch of small company games out there smashing it. Don't follow the fucking traditional media companies when it comes to movies and TV shows on how to fucking make video games. Stop doing that shit. Make a game that people like, and just stop playing with people and putting your hands in their pockets. Get out of their fucking pockets.
Two things.
Number one, what Helldivers is. There's like microtransactions are actually micro. They listen to the community. Yes. It's a really great game made to make you have fun.
Imagine
2 things. Number one,
made to make you have fun. That's crazy.
Yeah. 2 things. Number one, guys, can you all hear me?
So good, it made being team killed fun.
Okay, first and foremost, Osiris, I got a request for you. Can you boost your gain by a good 5 decibels? Because you are low and it's killing me. Number 2,
Rich,
is that so? My general issue here is that I'm going to take some stances as a gamer on a couple of these. Number 1, I don't like third-party ULAs because why do I need an account for your individual company to play a game that I bought from somewhere else? There's something about that really bothers me. It always feels like no matter what happens, I buy your shit and it still comes with strings attached. I'm not a big fan of this. I think porting really needs to be uploaded to another level. The second thing go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the company that gets data breached every couple of years said it was for your safety.
There was irony in there. I'm not going to defend.
Yeah, there's a lot of irony in that.
I'm not going to defend Sony, but my general issue tends to be that I still have serious issues with the gaming community writ large. I don't think that we're rewarding good behavior at all. Otherwise, EA would have been gutted and eviscerated years ago. But let's be real. It's people who will, throw $60 or $70 to play FIFA or, whatever the sports game of the year is. Huh?
Well, those are good games. Those are good games, though.
Oh,
no, well, the sports games is what started this entire trend. They're like...
I don't care how good they are when
full game price for a DLC.
But hold on, they do the sports games right? So if I play, for example, if I played old school NCAA football, I played Madden. I'll use the current one, Madden 2024, and there's EA college football coming out in 2024 this year. What they do in those games is you buy the game, it's cross-play for free. All that's fine. You get the base game, all the stuff for free. The only stuff you have to pay for in that game is the microtransactions. They do, for some reason, and I don't know why. Being EA is the old does this, but they're the only ones that this is the only time they do it is on the sports game. For some reason, that's the only time EA is willing to do the hell. Every other time, it's greedy.
But you got to pay for the game every year. That's trash.
Okay,
yeah,
but it's a new game.
I have to say. As much as I love Madden,
it's a lot of
as much as I love Madden, I have that problem too. Literally the only reason I held the EA Play subscription for as long as I did was just so I didn't have to pay for the fucking Madden game every year.
Look,
that's a trash fucking.
I'll take being in hot water as a Paradox player. I literally am part of a company, or I buy from a company that does 2 to 4 DLCs per game per year and charges anywhere between $5 and $20 for each of those DLCs. In fact, the next one for the game I'm playing is going to be $30, which they broke the record on that one.
Ooh.
Wait for a Steam sale. They all go on sale.
They usually do, but
I don't
or you can pay $5 per month.
I'm not done. That.
Type quick on Cyrus lore. So I used to do. I was officially a reviewer for Paradox for a while. They're pretty fair about their shit.
I'm okay. I actually defend Paradox, where a lot of people will condemn them because I think they actually put a lot of work into their games. I do think their pricing model is a little sketchy, but overall, I generally will say I'll even pay full price because most of the time when they do a DLC, it's worth it ish. I have serious issues with two things. One, gamers who pay $60 for a game that they'll play 40 hours of. That shit's wild to me. I get if you've got that kind of money, you can just piss into a can, go for it. But I think it makes some very, very poor decision-making for the game developers that they will ride on that kind of shit. And I do think that's a lot of these sports games that a lot of people are playing. If you look, they have very high activity rates for like a good couple of
sports games.
Huh?
The pop games. So Call of Duty, Madden, NBA, 2K, or whatever that stuff.
Sure.
Pop games. I would say pop games, not.
Yeah, well, I mean, call them pop games, but the problem is there's. Yeah, my point here is that we're seeing a terrible rate on return per dollar spent from the gaming community into shit that is hyper toxic. A lot of these pop games are, these companies make a shitload of money off of them. Yay, capitalism, but I don't think that the gamer base is really punishing them for absolutely overpricing a lot of this shit. Madden is one of these games that is basically a reskin of the prior version of the game that could basically be a DLC with an updated roster and maybe a new function, every now and again. And it's like, hey, look, you can charge $30 or $20 every year for that update. They're not going to fucking do that. And the fact that the community eats that shit up, I mean, yay capitalism, but this is one of those deals where it's like, as a community, we need to say no more. We're done with that.
That's why
I don't think they eat that shit up. I think that what happens, and this is my theory. I don't know this. Because I don't know their numbers. But I think what really happens is they're cycling players continuously. So you've got a certain amount of let's say you have somebody 15 years old to 30 years old. And as as a bracket of people who are playing this game, and as they enter and exit this span of age, you get new players and players exit, and I think that's what's happening really with the EA. That's my
it's really not, because it's the same thing with Call of Duty. The Call of Duty does the exact same shit. It's basically a reskinned game every fucking year. To a degree, to a degree, you're correct. It's a very, very, very small portion of the player base that happens with. Most of the reason why they get away with it, to be completely honest, is because a lot of the players are just extremely loyal to the franchise, whether it's Madden, whether it's Call of Duty, and they'll just buy the game every year. When a lot of that's the reason why one of the reasons why I'm kind of still debating on whether I'm going to continue buying Call of Duty is because of
you could be loyal and then guess what? You hit a certain age and you're like, you know what? I'm not playing this game. I'm not buying this game every fucking. I said that.
LetheWater.
So someone brought up Paradox games, and I play a lot of those. So one of the things I do dislike that Paradox does, and I know other companies do it too, and it's like the one thing about DLC that I actually dislike. If the DLC is actually like new shit the company's working on, and then they're like, okay, like we're gonna release it now, and then you can get it, and we're all good. That's cool, right? Great. It's basically as a substitute for just coming out with part 2 of the game when the game's fundamentals are fine, and maybe you just could use some more content. But something that Paradox does is they will develop the mechanism and then hide it behind a paywall, kind of like I think Star Wars Battlefront did this as well, right? Where and some of it's actually essential for the gameplay, right? So I'm thinking about Europa Universalis 4, where developing provinces is pretty much an essential element of the gameplay, and you have to buy an expansion to do that. And literally, it's just like clicking a number that goes up on a province. And you can do this. Like it's not like a new fucking gizmo. Like it was built into the base game. They just disabled it unless you bought the expansion, which is kind of fucky, right? Because it encourages some pretty like nickel and dimey kind of behavior of like we're going to disable like certain features and then make you pay them. That's like the one criticism of Paradox that I'll give them. It's pretty shitty behavior. I don't like it.
I don't have a problem with that nearly as much as where they are really flip-floppy when it comes to those new DLCs, and they're like, hey, we're going to give you this, and then a couple months down the road, they'll either make it part of the free version where it kind of makes it where you paying for that DLC was kind of pointless. I've seen them do that for 2 major DLCs on 2 different games recently. The other thing that they do, and this is kind of where it gets a little hairy, is it's very clear that they have all of this shit when they release a game that is supposed to be part of it, and it's just all like, oh, pay an extra $20 to get these, beautiful little, addendums and gizmos and whatever. And I'm like, I get that to some degree, but like there's a level where I feel like it is, one, rewarding the microtransactions just an upfront, and it's overpriced as fuck. The second part where I think is very real is that the community and the developers do need to have a conversation there about what the level of development is for the release game. Because being a Paradox player, basically any game that when it's released is an open beta. It's not a finished game. It's not even close.
And I would add to that and say that I agree with all that, but I would say that also it feels like a subscription service, even though it's not a subscription service. I need like City Skylines. You get the some new DLC drops. You get fucking futuristic Chinese trains. I need that shit. Well, I have to pay $10 for that. Or American Truck Simulator, which is a super popular sim game. You need you get that, and I can't fucking drive across America and not have Texas or Montana or some shit. So it's very subscription like. I don't know how you drive across.
Texas literally doesn't exist.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny on EU4. On EU4, they recognize this to the point where you can buy a subscription to temporarily unlock all of the expansions for like $5 a month.
And after people have Netflix, Hulu, and all this shit, and then you add your gaming subscription, people are tired. Just in general, across the board, people are tired of being sub-pennied to death. I don't want to be sub-pennied to death. I don't need an app to keep track of all my fucking subscriptions. That's crazy.
But that's where there's the good way to do this. If you look at this, I want to bring up the Throats War again, and I want to bring up Game Pass. Game Pass. If you buy Game Pass, we all bitched about EA. Guess what? If I pay a subscription for Game Pass, I get Ultimate. I get thousands of games for free, and I get new games every month, And one of the other subscriptions that's included with that is EA Play. So I don't ever have to pay for the new Madden games. Fuck all you peasants.
Hell
That's a
yeah.
bitch. And I'll give you
Yeah,
another model of subscription pay that's good. We mentioned SWOTOR earlier.
Based.
Like, here's another one.
Goddamn,
SWOTOR does
agreeing
this.
with Gibbs.
I know, and I'm going to give you another one you're probably going to
How
like
can
too,
you
right
afford
here.
the games with all the money going to Ukraine? I don't understand.
Listen, wait, make more money, get good, scrub. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with this. So
You're
SWOTOR's
broke.
another.
You're
SWOTOR's another one.
fucking poor.
They have new expansions all the time that people have to pay for, right? They have new ones all the time. Here's how they do it. If I decide I don't want to play this new expansion because it's not enough, and they'll announce what's in it, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I could come back 6 months from now and go, hey, I played through all the new expansions. I'm not going to get enough in the next couple of months for this to make me $14 a month worth it, right? I'll just not renew my subscription. But then what I'll do is pay in 6 months. You get every subscription up to that point that's been released ever. Every DLC, I mean, everything's up with that will be released to that point to you as a new subscription holder. That's the proper way to do it. They have the microtransactions in game that you choose to buy that are not optional. In addition to that are optional, like if I want some cool gear or a mount or something, that's a good fine. But I could get all the new story updates included with my subscription from the point that they've been released to that. And then as long as I'm subscribed, I always get the new. That's a good model, as opposed to we're gonna.
And you keep those when
and
you keep those when you cancel and have preferred access to. That's how I do it too.
It's such a good model,
Right.
and that's why it's such a beloved game.
For the add-on with Gibbs, first of all, Game Passes might be the biggest blessing that ever happened to fucking gaming ever.
It's wonderful.
Not only is it on the Xbox, but it's on PC too. So you get this cross-play feature. You get all the many of the games that are on Xbox on your PC, and vice versa. And it doesn't feel it doesn't feel like you're being nickel and dime to death, because you have the option. If you're a variety gamer, you can play a variety of games. If you are a single player gamer like a Madden gamer, you get all the DLC, all the things that happen within that subscription. That makes a lot of sense. I wish more gaming. I wish more subscriptions would adhere to this. What I have not figured out is why haven't we gone? This might sound weird. It might sound counterintuitive, but how come we haven't gone back to the cable subscription model? Meaning that I pay $30 a month or some X amount of dollars a month, and I get all the things. That's literally what Game Pass is doing. Why can't I just get all the things and pay for this? So I pay
with
$50
commercials.
a month. Fuck your commercials.
Cable has commercials
with ads.
No, fuck
Some
that
cable
shit.
packages do.
I'm
Some
so
don't.
listen. YouTube is the worst on ads. I've seen my kids watch a kid's video
Have you tried
and get a
Hulu?
30-minute ad on
Stop being
Christian
broke. Buy
churches.
premium.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
and my
have
kid is-
YouTube Premium, right? What Gibbs say? Stop being broke or something along
That's
those
what I'm
lines.
saying. I had Hulu without ads, with ads once, and I was like, nope, never again. And I got like the max passage. It's the best. Like,
That's
I
what
don't
I'm
wanna pay
saying.
much
So
more
why
about
can
it.
I buy the cable package of this and get a certain amount of things that I choose, maybe, and you maybe throw something in as a promotional, and fuck your ads. I don't need the fucking stupid ass ads.
I don't even mind the ads and stuff like Peacock. Peacock's got a great deal right now. Like, I like the WWE a lot, right? Obviously with my Macho Man go. But like Peacock, I got the Peacock base version, $20 for the whole year, includes ads. You watch every WWE pay-per-view included with some ads. Great. I'll watch a few ads and then
Some
watch
things
a
are
few
cool
WWE
with
pay-per-views.
ads, but YouTube
Like, that's
or
great
some
deal.
other places, the ads are ridiculous. I
And all
don't
the
need
movies.
YouTube has 15-minute ads now, 30-minute ads for religious shit. I don't need
I had a
that shit.
2.5 hour ad from YouTube the other day.
Yeah,
And I saw it. I was like, man, my audiobook stopped.
No,
And
I'm
I'm
not.
like,
No,
okay,
I'm
and I looked
surprised
over at
of.
20 minutes in.
I'm surprised there's not ads in video games yet. I'm so surprised there's not ads.
There are.
There are.
Don't say
Technically
this. They're
are.
listening.
They're hidden though, usually.
Yeah, they're hidden.
I mean,
for the most part, but there are.
overt ads. You start up the game, you get a 30-second fucking ad placement for
That's coming, I'm sure.
for some VPN shit. Like oh god.
That's
they already have
that's pretty
in-game
much how
ads.
mobile games work at this point.
Yeah,
I don't mind
true.
ads. Like, why are we like? I'm not inherently even opposed to ads in games. Like, if it's a good enough game, and my option is watch a 10-second ad at the beginning of my game,
10 seconds is cool.
Yeah, 10-second ad at the beginning of the game, or even a 30-second or a minute
If
long ad at
it's
the beginning
free,
of the
but
game.
I'm not buying.
and it's
I'm not buying a
free.
fucking game though, and watching ads in the game that I buy. Fuck that shit.
What if
That's
they're like?
bullshit.
What if they're like? Well, all right. What if you're like? All right. Let me just tell you. I know you like hypotheticals. What if it's like in the world, and Coca-Cola sponsored an ad to play on a television in the game world, and you can choose the
that's
button.
fine.
Okay.
I'm cool with that. But if they stop my gameplay to roll an ad, for a game that I paid for, fuck that shit.
Bro,
That's
I'd be
bullshit.
so into a video, and then it stops. Stops.
What if it was 4
stop the
cutscenes?
video,
Like, you get your
and the
cutscene.
best part of the video just to show me
hate
an ad
cutscenes.
about how to get free money from the government. Who the fuck's getting free money? First of all, this is a bullshit ad. I'm not getting free money from the government. Why is it 13 minutes long? I don't give a fuck about none of this. Now I have to find the fucking remote to the goddamn TV and be like, skip ad. Shut the fuck up, YouTube. Stop it.
All right.
We definitely
so
don't need this in games.
Buy premium.
we
bitch.
are at the end of this, so I'm gonna let everybody get a closing thought on this topic. And if anybody needs a dip, they can dip and give themselves a shout out. I need another energy drink. God damn. Anybody closing statement?
God bless Arrowhead.
Nah, I'm good on this.
Helldivers 2 is super base. Everyone should go buy it now that we're past Sony's corrupt nature.
First
Also,
of all,
does this
Definitely
include
won't
just,
come
like,
back
shout outs
for
and everything?
season
Wait,
2.
here's the closing ad.
Yeah.
The closing ad. If you believe in democracy, you believe in freedom,
Just like the automaton,
you believe in
Sony
the
will not
human
come back.
rights, and you believe in helping the poor people across the world, you need to buy Helldivers and put in your work. Do it for your nation. Do it for your country. Do it for the world.
Do it for Super Earth.
Yes. Let's
Now
go.
that's Rich coming from someone that said that they didn't buy it.
Yeah, tell him.
Osiris plays. Now,
I-
Tiberius, on the other hand,
Yeah.
isn't spreading
I-
liberty like he should be.
Look, in all fairness, I'm debating on it because I am terrible at first person shooters and I don't really have the cash right now.
You don't have to
But
be good. You don't have to be good at this.
I know I don't. I'm just saying, like, if I do get some spare cash here, in the coming days, I probably will try to up for it because this was a community pushback that I want to support, and even if I don't play it that often, this is some stuff that I want to reward. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey,
Man, are you
support
saying that you don't
Tiberius.
have it
Get
right
him
now?
on,
Mods, crush that
the
traitor
Sword
skull.
Army.
I'll give a-
I mean, sorry, I've got to embrace a little heresy here. I have to wage war in Europe, not in the stars.
I'll give
Heresy.
a
Wall.
closing,
Face
and
the
then
wall.
I'll need to bounce. If you liked what I
Please
said,
do,
you
Lactoid.
can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you all for talking with me. Yeah, I appreciate it as always. Thanks.
Don't be a socialist anymore, Lactoid. Stop
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Come
What,
back
so,
to the
what a
record.
socialist? You mean like stealing money and giving it to Taiwanese and Ukrainians? Okay, sure.
Mhm.
And Israelis. I know we didn't talk about that much, but I mean, come on, right?
Why
Why do
do
they need our
didn't
money?
talk about that on
What
purpose.
real
Why do you-
threat
why-
is there?
Why do you want to why do you support multipolarity and anti-democracy and capitalism?
I don't.
By not spending this money, you're supporting.
Sure.
And
Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah.
Mhm.
Parallax, I hope you get absolutely fucking wrecked.
All right, so we're gonna open up the panel. Thank you for being here, Lactoid. You're always awesome.
Appreciate it.
You were killing it on that first topic. Going to war with Gibbs and the rest of Texas.
Texas doesn't exist.
Yeah, so outside of Texas, when you go to other countries, they refer to the United States as Texas and its 49 bitches. Just so you are aware, that's what they refer to it as. Without Texas, the rest of the United States would.
Sounds like the South needs crushed again.
All right. I'll go through some chats and then we'll rate on out. Firstly, for all of you who gave a follow, sub, or bits, really appreciate it. Thank you, as always. Let's see here. I actually like you, even if you don't shower enough and you're a libertarian. I showered before this panel. I always shower before my panels, so come on, give me a break. Get your shit together and play some Total Rome War Attila. Rome Total War Attila. So this is my criticism. I love Warhammer 2 Total War. I think it's one of the best games, honestly. And one of the reasons why I think it's so good is I got kind of spoiled playing it. And the other games, the other Total War games, like Attila, or I've never really played Attila, I'll be honest with you, but like Rome Total War or Napoleon Total War, which I used to play a lot, they all lack depth, right? All the different factions, their armies are all kind of similar. Yeah, like they have different flavor, different names for the units, but like they're all more or less the same. You got their cavalry, your infantry, and then you got, catapults or whatever. But with Warhammer, you have so many more classes of shit that you can utilize, right? You have not only your base infantry and archers and all that normal stuff, which other games are going to have too, but you also have monsters, which you have to use differently, right? Like they're great for shock, but they're vulnerable to archers usually. You also have more advanced siege weapons, right? So it's not just a catapult or just like like different names to different cannons, but you have like warp cannons. You have sure they have catapults, right? But they also have steam tanks, and they have different classes of things that are just cool and play kind of a separate role. You have magic and spells. That's also a massive part, right? So you can't clump all your units together because then someone might cast a spell or utilize the battlefield in a particular way. It definitely has the most depth of all the Warhammer games that I've played. So, or all the Total War games that I've played. So, and it's the Warhammer universe, which is also just cool. Like I'm also a Warhammer fan, so that was really fun. That makes it really fun as well. Couldn't recommend it more. If it's on sale and you have a few buckaroo dues to throw it on over, highly recommend it. Julipop, hello. Why hello there? Unfortunately, you've caught me at the end, unfortunately, but I appreciate it. I appreciate coming by. Lactoid is a nerd. True. Yeah, I do like the Warhammer universe and StarCraft. I used to be part of a StarCraft team. Some people don't know that. I hung out with all the Koreans growing up, and we played a lot of StarCraft and ate a lot of ramen. And so I love ramen and I love StarCraft. And kimchi, I love kimchi. I'm not kidding. I went to a majority minority school, and growing up, like I was very much with the Koreans, and hell yeah. So when you hang out with Koreans, you're going to be a nerd. Just is what it is. Warhammer 3 was trash IMO. I play Warhammer 2, Total War. I've heard that Warhammer 3, some people have criticisms about it. I haven't played it, so I'm gonna reserve my criticisms until I play it because I know that a lot of good games come out of the Total War universe. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Warhammer 2, fantastic. Warhammer 2 is fantastic. So if that goes, and it's going to be cheaper, obviously, than the newer game. So if it goes on sale, give it a shot. I'm interested in DEI expansion and Medieval 1212. DEI expansion, diversity, equity, and inclusion expansion. Okay. I didn't know that was a game. Weinstein is indeed in prison for other charges for life, I'm pretty sure. How the years work out, like he's old and in bad health and he's not going to make it through the first sentence. But the other one got overturned because of bias, which I think was bound to happen because during that Me Too era, people were pretty rabid, I think, a little bit. And that did come through in the trial. I think the judge led in testimony that was prejudicial and was not probative. And so the appeals court overturned it. And he's probably not going to be retried. I think some of the key witnesses said they're not going to come back. Not that it matters, because he's, again, still going to be in prison for life. I mean, I suppose unless that somehow gets overturned, but that would be weird. That I don't see that happening. And then scrolling up, whole Parallax and Roland text combat. So I'm going to skip past some of that. Skip past all of that, and then that's kind of the end of the chat. All right, let's go back down. This is why I'm trying to set you in the date show. You need a girlfriend or boyfriend like Corey. Date shows, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. I don't know if I'm that kind of streamer, but we try to keep things debate, or I mean, I'll do reviews and stuff, so it's not going to be entirely debate oriented. But I don't know. I think a date show would be awkward. But that's I'm not gay, so I like Corey as a friend, but I'm not gay. Did you get as twitchy as the Koreans in the video games? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. There's these weird like little twitches and like one of the things that you've will see me do sometimes, and I know I fucking do it, is like at the end of panels, like I'll bow. That's a super Korean thing to do. That is a super Korean thing to do, and you always do it to your to someone older than you who has just done something nice for you or given you a compliment. I've been trying. I can't help it. It's just like um, they're both mods on either game. I don't know if the DEI in there. Yeah, it's funny. You should do some gaming streams from time to time. I should do some gaming streams from time to time, shouldn't I? I really should. I mean, frankly, I always want to stream more, but it's just sometimes it's hard to find the time and the energy. So, but couldn't agree more. I should do more gaming streams. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So we'll try to make that happen more. Yeah, we get it. You bisexual? No, I am not. If I was, I would just say it. I mean, it's 2024. I think it would probably help my clout on Twitch and probably my career too, right? Because hey, now I'm part of like a protected class. I'm part of like a hip minority group. I'm just not. So I'm not gonna lie to people. Cringe face. I don't know if the cringe face is in relation to the bisexual or if it's in relation to the bowing, the Korean bowing, but either or, sure. I don't think you're wrong. Not that bisexuality is, I have a problem with it, but lying about it would be a problem. And then, yeah, bowing is weird, especially for a white guy to do, because I'm not Asian, and I'm not a weeb either. I don't like anime, so I don't even like want to pretend to be Asian, like a lot of white people who are super into Japan do. You only doing debate streams? I have only been doing debate streams recently. I did do following the debate with Fnatic. I did like review some of his videos or one of his videos, which I think was fun. And I think that reviews of other people's arguments and debates would be something I could do that could be fun. But it's Twitch, right? And I know that the audience here likes games, and I enjoy them. I like to think I'm okay at games, right? Masters League and StarCraft. I used to play StarCraft a lot more. I could probably do okay, but I have not, dude. I am gonna be turning 29, and dude, the games it gets harder. It really does, which sucks. It does suck. When I was a kid, I mean, it was all I did, which probably explains a lot. He was bi, he qualified for all the DEI shit. Maybe. I think people are skeptical of bisexual men somewhat, but sure, probably. You should probably do some more gaming or React stream. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. If I'm gonna do going forward, if I'm gonna do a stream in which it's going to be in which like I'm planning it, and what I mean by that is the debates that I do, I get invited, right? And sometimes it's hey, we really need you. I'll come through for people, but also I appreciate it as well, and it's something that I really enjoy. And I think this primarily will always be a debate channel, unless something drastic changes. But that's just knowing my personality and knowing what I enjoy. That's likely going to be what we will be. But if I'm going to like do stuff on my own, it's going to be gaming or React. I'm not gonna set up debates going forward, probably, because so much of my content is already just debates. So I think it would make more sense to do some other stuff. All right, so enough squawking at you. What we're gonna do is, but you might need something else if you want to grow. Yeah, I know. I get it. And I mean, part of it is, yeah, no, I get it. You're not wrong. Yeah. You guys make good points. Sometimes you do. I'm not gonna fight it. I'm not gonna fight you when you're right. Ranger and Rogue has raided us a few times, I believe. Yeah, we like Ranger and Rogue, right? I like them. We're gonna raid on out into Ranger and Rogue. What I mean is that during debates there's other people talking, so there's not like much time you talking. Yeah, no, I totally understand. No, I'm not gonna fight you. You guys make good points. All right, well, thank you guys for sticking around till the end. It makes my raids that much more impressive. And so we're gonna raid on out. Really appreciate it, guys. And yeah, I'll see you next time.
A lot of rules that are absolutely stupid, and we're going to talk about some of those here. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at